Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to Ateneo Art Gallery's ArtSpeak Online session. I'm Boots Herrera, Director and Chief Curator of the museum. Today's session moves a bit away from our usual focus on contemporary art practice, but it is nonetheless very relevant and timely. The title is The Wondrous Weirdness of Modern Art and How This Helps Us Understand Mental Health. Such a playful title for a very serious topic, especially during this quarantine period. This session is co-presented with Project Steady, one of our guest speakers' affiliate organizations. Gang Badoy Capati is a trained trauma recovery therapist who practiced for 9 years in the maximum security prison. She is a staunch advocate for the youth volunteerism movement through Rock Ed Philippines, where she is also a prime organizer of disaster relief operations. In fact, they're quite busy now with relief operations for the regions affected by the last typhoon. Gang actively supports the Mindanao Peace Games, a league that encourages young girls to engage in sports, and is a mental fitness coach for national athletes under the Philippine Olympic Committee Athletes Commission. Under RockEd, Gang spearheaded Project Steady, a web-wide mental health initiative focused on creative arts therapy for young adults. She believes that peace and progress are impossible if a nation doesn't prioritize the mental wellness of its citizens and leaders. Gang was awarded the 10 Outstanding Women in the Nation's Service for her public service in alternative education. This session actually is a follow through, no? After her talk that she gave, I think last year. So it was she did a lecture demonstration of her one of her passions, soap making, and after that we got into talking more about what how we can continue working together. And she actually mentioned a series that addresses mental health issues. And unfortunately or fortunately, because of the pandemic, we had to cut down on our programs. But the online Art Speak sessions continue to be one of our main means of engaging with our audience. And so this is, as I said, a very timely topic. And I was happy that she immediately agreed to giving this talk after I mentioned the possibility of doing one. In fact, she was ready a month ago, I think, for this session. So can we have Gang Badoy Kapati? Gang, please turn on
Okay,
your.
I will.
Okay. So
All right.
welcome.
Hello. Hi. Just checking if everyone can hear me. And I think you're all experts on Zoom by now, so you can actually
Yes.
you can give me a thumbs
Medyo.
up or some indication that you
Yeah.
can hear me. The audio is good.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thank you. So hi,
Sige, you
Boots.
can hello.
Hi.
Thank you again for agreeing to this talk. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
we should parang also mention sorry.
Contextualize. Let's
Yeah. Maybe you can start with that na lang. Oh. I'll let you speak.
yeah. Sure. Thank you. When there's a lecture or a master class, parang lahat master class, I have this dream, I want to give a master class to hold a master class. No, I'm just kidding. I want normally I know normally, especially if it's in an institution that's run by a religious organization, like the Society of Jesus. Normally there's like an opening prayer or a whatever, but this is a mental
No.
wellness.
No.
This is a this is a mental wellness exercise. So I'm going to have my version of that kind of stretch. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to flash. You can all I can see the chat box. So I'm gonna ask some of you who are so inclined to participate on the chat
Mm.
box. look at the picture. I mean, look at the room that I'm the visual, and just put any word or phrase that makes you think of it. And what comes to mind when you see this picture. What does it feel like to you? What is it? Do you remember anything with the picture? Windows. Okay, thank you for that, Jacob. Let's warm up. Any feeling? Any feeling it gives you? Like, sige, let's wait for a few others. Relaxing. Thank you for that. Serenity. Eliza, somebody sentimental. Thank you. Stretch your brain, because this is our version of standing up and actually putting our arms up. Since I can't make you do that, let's just do this. Peaceful. Salamat. Okay. RBG. Oh, oo nga. RBG pala. Akala ko Ruth
RBG.
Bader
No,
Ginsburg.
no, no. It's
Yung pala red,
red,
blue, and green.
blue, and green.
Sorry, you can see my state of mind. I'm distracted by the US
Oo nga.
election, as I'm
Yeah.
sure many of you
Many
are.
of
So
us.
yeah, let's just take a break for now. But you can discuss the U.S. elections. Ako say obviously it will come into play. Tranquil, thank you
Mm-mm.
for that. Watercolors, thank you for that. Okay, keep looking at the screen. Just keep looking at the screen, and I will play a track. And as I play it, just keep looking. Just keep looking at the window at the room. Now, how do you feel about the picture? Okay. Just now incorporate the sound. Okay. Sexy. That's awesome. That's a good adjective. I love that. Colorful. Stretch, guys. Okay, you don't have to type this out, but who are you with in the room? Ha ha ha. Kidding. No, not kidding. I'm sure you thought of that. Okay, good, good, good. Okay, I'm gonna make you guys stretch a bit. While you're looking at the room and listening to the tune, what do you smell? Stretch your brain. Scent. Give me a scent. Thanks, Regina. Thanks, cigarette. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. For the last minute, I want you to tell me where you are in the picture and what are you wearing? Not in the sexy way, but just what are you wearing? What are you doing? Are you drinking something? Are you with someone? Describe it to us, please. With the song and the picture aiding your imagination. Please stretch that left brain now. Come on. Okay, slowly. I will get you back to the room slowly. I will pause the picture now so you're not so shocked because I really hate it when all of a sudden faces come back into the screen. So I'll slowly pause this, slowly turn on my camera. Okay. Let's keep it. Let's keep the room because I prefer my face small. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's
Oh,
fine. That's
that's
fine.
right. We have an FB page. Hi.
Yes. So
Oh,
they're posting it also.
oh, okay, that's so cool.
Mm-mm.
Good. I'm glad you guys are all here. You guys have you guys have been stuck. Oh, sige. Um First exercise. Okay na nga, I'll stop sharing. So you're gonna see my face now. Arrgh. Ateneo, stay in the screen. Okay, okay. No. All right. How did that make you feel? Did you stretch your left brain and right brain? Good, because I can't make you stand up. That's really too strange. But I thought we ought to shake off the day because you did sign up for this, and I don't know what else other than the Trump Biden race distracting you. Pero sige, nandito na tayo. If you noticed when you saw the picture is not it's a very vague picture. You're not quite sure if it's happy or sad, and you're not quite sure if it's a cozy place or a cold place. It could be a heartbreak place. At the same time, it could also be very romantic, very sexy. So my point is, all of us were looking at the same picture, but pero lahat tayo parang iba yung sagot. May iba cozy, may iba solitary, etc., etc. Proof number one. Please, before I begin, everything I say is open to discussion. Okay, I'm not gonna give you absolute truths today because there's very little of that in the world. But whatever I share today is open to argument. You may disagree, and you may ask, you may etc. But certainly, what I will give you today is extrapolations of things I've learned from two disciplines I am very much in love with. One is art history, and the other one is learning how to be a therapist. I'm a psychotherapist, and my practice, as Boot said, I started in I thought I was going to end there. And in fact, I started the practice because of the maximum security prison work that we did. I realized it was not enough to just be a teacher, but we had to be present. So this is so funny because I'm so filled with, what's the word? Imposter syndrome. Just Google that if, in case you've never heard of it. I'm so filled with imposter syndrome whenever I face a difficult client. And then I really pause and say, alam mo kaya ko yung taga-Bilibid, eh, I'm sure kaya ko 'to. Parang I keep forgetting the glaring evidence of my training, but this is the journey of my being a therapist. 9 years talking to people without freedom who are there 20 or 12 or more years. Wonderful, colorful history, certainly. And then we were not granted a permit to go back to prison just yet because they changed everything security wise when the Delima alleged mess was happening. And then I said, now I'll take on and counsel statistically normal people, meaning people with freedom, people who didn't really don't have triple homicide under their belts, etc. And I said, normal people are more difficult, non-inmates are more difficult, and now it's twice my work. It's really uphill. It's really putting me to task and challenging me because now my clients are people who are free but can't go out of the house. Isn't that amazing? So yeah, uh, yun yung aking journey as a psychotherapist. Una walang laya, tas may laya. Ngayon layang walang laya. Tapos walang laya, tas may virus. What? So then I realized, wow, everything about mental wellness is with or without COVID. It's the same. In fact, while I do not like the pandemic and I do not welcome that the virus is here, I have to honor and respect it and say, we're just gonna expedite some changes. Parang ganon, feeling ko. And I do believe in that. When your stillness is forced, you're forced to be still. It's a chance to expedite certain changes. No, it can be personal to political, even personal to global, even. So that's where we are. So the first exercise is when you're looking at the room, we do all bring whatever we have. Like if I'm newly in love and I see that room, the first thing I'll think of is, uy, okay kami dyan, like momol kami dyan. I mean, we'll sit down there on that couch and I'm gonna like kiss him for 1 hour, whatever. whatever, if you have that endurance. And then, and then I'll say, oh, I like that place. It's like, nya, 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 or I'll surmise where it is. I mean, if you're being academic and if you miss traveling, you'll probably say, is that in Berlin? It kind of looks like, whatever. But if you're very sad, though, you look at the room and you're like, oh my God, that's a dangerous room. I know I'm going to wallow in that room and I'm going to binge. So, without overstating it and without repeating, we can be looking at the exact picture, but because of what we bring with us, our interpretation is different and our impression of it is different. I On the chat box again, please, did it change a bit? Did the picture change a bit when you started hearing the song? I have a feeling kasi when there's a second sense involved, which is always, yeah, it did. I think so. I think so. When the song came in and the song is very, it was a very decisive piece that it's certainly a peaceful song. Um, it's not as vague as the picture. You realize parang pag may pumasok pala na ibang sense at ang sensory experience ko ay may dumagdag na naiiba ng konti, di ba? So, that's lesson number two. You really have to make your five senses help you if things are getting stuck in terms of when you're in a rather dim season. When you're in a dark season, you need to seek help. So I'm talking about people in dim seasons. So that's very different. Because if it's dark, one webinar might not might not help immediately. So to begin, are you ready to begin with like the actual lecture? Kasi teacher ko si Boots nung college eh. So kunwari may natutunan naman ako. So
Sana.
hindi, meron naman, sobra ka naman. So, oo naman, ako yung bad student, ikaw yung good teacher. So, let me start with, I'll begin the discussion proper. First
Yeah,
five
okay.
minutes
Mm-mm.
is just really nothing, and then we ask questions after. However, I am very a little more casual than the normal. So you may interrupt by raising your hand. The panelists will see it, or you may type out the question as I'm talking, and I have the prerogative to
Oh,
answer it or not. So the reason why, to begin, the reason why it's art history 50.5, that's the first thing that that Ma'am Boots asked me, is because 50.5 is half of 101. Okay, so you will not leave this webinar knowing art history. You will leave this webinar. You will, because you probably know art history already. Okay, so I get it. So you will leave with a synthesis, an incorporation, a certain overlap, the Venn diagram between art history and mental wellness, at least in my experience as someone who studied both and who is a fan of both disciplines, actually. The one of the reasons why I believe I'm politically engaged is because I studied art history really well, and I realized that art is certainly either a precursor, prophet, or absolute reflection of what's going on, even on the civil political plane,
mhm.
even in the geopolitics of everything. So I'm sure you know that. So this afternoon will be an afternoon of synthesis. Afternoon of synthesis, certainly not precision. That's my imposter syndrome already apologizing. Just kidding. So let me give you a super, super amateur overview of why I wanted to discuss modern art. Of course, we got to start somewhere, and usually it's the caves of Altamira. So, this is the caves of Altamira. And then you say, oh, they drew their, I wonder if they were pets, or maybe did they love them? Did they love their bison? Or just because they work, or it's just because it was the initial shape of the stone and they said, oh my gosh, it looks like the animal, so let's paint it. So this is in Spain, Caves of Altamira, early beginnings. And then you have sculpture, of course, it becomes three-dimensional. This is not an art history class, please remember. So you may correct me in your brain as we go on. But then they said, oh, pwede pala 3D. O sige, game, kuros, kuroy, etc. And then slowly it starts to get softer. Do you notice? Like, una, super tigas ng kuros. And then eventually you get to, the Renaissance where it's so, lumalambot. Okay, I guess it's getting more realistic. Amazing. Then you have the Gothic sway of nakadiagonal si Mother Mary carrying etc. etc. So you can kind of see how it's going, where I'm going. Now this is Jean Louis David, and this is the death of Marat. Okay, it's a hyper realist. No, it's not hyper. Sorry, I use that loosely. It's a realistic painting. Like you can really see the foreshortening of the shoulders and even the sinews of the forearm, etc. Like even the wooden box looks like a wooden box, and the piece of paper has this accurate shadow. And wow, ang galing nito kasi mukhang totoo. So, so you look at it and say, damn, that's good. Kahit yung turban, halos nafe-feel ko yung fabric. So this is a good painting. Why? Because it looks real, right? So usually, generally, when you first foray into the world of appreciating art, you say, galing, mukhang totoo. Okay? So may ganon. But then, of course, we get interrupted by technology a lot over over the decades, and you know how technology completely changes culture, ugali, attitude, where even just 6 years back, my father-in-law would be very angry when we'd be on the phone over dinner. Now it's almost forgivable. Now we even reply, I don't know. Dati talagang no, no. And then now, and of course, there's a circular life. Naman is not linear. Now there's a whole movement of parents saying, don't put the phone on the table again. Thank God there is that. Let's talk naman in real life. So technology constantly interrupts us as a people. So technology happened. So we go back. Oh, ang galing ng death of Mara. It looks so real. But wait, there's a camera. And guess what? The camera can really take a picture of something as is. Ergo, natalo yung painter. Kasi ito mukhang totoo. Kasi ito talaga yun, right? With the camera, the evolution of the camera, etc. Then what good are our portraits now painted by ABC if the actual portrait of me is the actual likeness of me is perfectly captured by a camera. So how does this happen? How does this happen? Blah blah blah. And then they said, ooh, then I must give my impression of things. I'll just give my impression of the lady. You all know the impressionist, okay? You've had a mug or a shirt or a payong or a calendar of this, so you know this. I don't need to elaborate. So this is actually my impression of a woman, sabi niya. And this is my impression of a sunset, sabi ni Monet. It doesn't look like a sunset like the pictures you have of Manila Bay, where the Dolomite sand is holding on for dear life. But this is a sunset, clearly, but with a few strokes here and there, here and there. Monet said, this is my impression of a sunset. This is how a sunset impresses me. I am not going to paint it as what it looks like. I'm going to paint it on how it impressed me, right? So that's one. So they say, ooh, okay, so that's a difference. And then we proceed to further, because humans will always interrupt technology and technology will interrupt humans, but humans will always be more disruptive. So then you have Duchamp that says, this is a nude descending a staircase. And everybody will be like, oh, okay. Especially everybody who like the death of Mara and how realistic it is. Especially the ones who really love basket of fruits and a pitcher and an orange looking really like an orange. They're probably gonna say, okay, this is bullshit. But it does kind of look like a nude descending the staircase, and that is born out of a series of pictures, as you can see, and you're like, what? So now the human is saying, what is beautiful then? What do I like? And galing, kasi now the choice is left to us. Like, I think cubism is bullshit. I don't like it. Or they say, I really don't like impressionists kasi it no, 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 no. Or I really like realism, etc. Okay, I have a point. Don't worry, I'm gonna get there. Be patient. Stay with me. Surprisingly, well, I'm sure you know this. This is actually a portrait made by Picasso, painted by Picasso, and the Picasso as we know him is a little different from where he started. But this is a Picasso. Look at that. Look at the forehead. Look at the hands. Look at the fabric and etc. He's really like, may ibang lente sa mata talaga to eh. So anyway, and then this is also a Picasso. Guernica, you probably know this, expressing the horror of a town that was bombed, etc., etc., in however you want to say it, in his form, in his style. Sorry, it's tiny. I couldn't get a bigger picture. So I'm just making you study the difference of the early Picasso and the late Picasso and the Picasso the Picasso in the poster of your NGO office, right? So you're saying if you encounter Picasso at this era, you'll say, oh, that's just lines. I can draw that, and truly you can. My niece can draw that. My nephew can draw that, and maybe they can, but not from zero. But I can imitate it. Like I can trace it, or actually imitate the strokes. But to know the form of a dove so thoroughly that you can do it by lines, that's from his brain. That's not from ours. So that's the genius. That's the genius of it, I think. But this is the Picasso that we know. But how did he get from there to here? I don't know. Evolve, change, materials, capacity, willingness to express. I don't know. But at least we know that he really knows how to draw a man that looks like a man. So we appreciate this. We appreciate the evolution. They're like, "Oh, okay, this is a Picasso. It's an olive branch. Good job. 7 lines, and it's a dove, you know. And then you have Matisse that really looks like a third grade collage project, but that's fine. If you come in and say, yeah, I can do that. Si the Monstera, kasi madaming nag-obsess sa plants ngayon. So, nagkukunwaring maraming alam, pero actually wala ko alam sa plants. Alam ko lang Monstera at kamukha niya to. But I think it's corals, okay? And you're like, this is a Matisse? Really? Okay. It's cute. I like it. But how is this deep art? How is this expensive? Ah, there you go. The measure of good art. Another measure of good art. How is this expensive? Right? You say, no. It's fine. I know I'm preaching to the choir because I'm sure all of you know art history deeply, but I'm going somewhere. Stay with me. This is the Matisse collection that blah, 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 and you're saying they're cutouts and wow, pause. Look at it. Such simple shapes, but he perfectly got the foreshortening of the thigh, yung pwesto ng upo. I mean, iba yung utak na to eh. Iba yung pinanggalingan nito. Kaya ko ba siyang gayahin? Oo, kaya ko nang gayahin to ngayon. Kaya ko na-ikat. Pero hindi ko yata siya kaya from zero, from a vacuum. So yun ang genius ni Matisse. Right? Kaya ko i-replicate. Pero hindi ko yata siya kaya i-create ito. Hindi ko alam. Para na. So this is a day of unfinished sentences. This is what he looked like. This is the magic of Matisse. Visually impaired, already legally blind, relying on an apprentice, quite bedridden, but still look at that. Look at that process. This is why. It's the process that makes it valuable. And if you know what's behind what's on the frame, as opposed to staying put here. If you stay here, of course it looks rather simple. It's a wallpaper pattern, right? It's fine. It's okay to admit that. Okay. Mas komplikado pa nga yung mga William Morris eh, pero okay lang. But then when you see the process, look at that. Visually challenged, apprentice, probably in pain, still producing at a late age, etc. That's where the appreciation for Matisse comes from. For Henri Matisse, that's where it comes from. So my point is the wondrous weirdness of I told you there was a point. The wondrous weirdness of modern art is like, what? Mukhang palette board ba niya yan? Or I don't know. But this is a Pollock, obviously. But if you study it, like really look at it closely, you're gonna have to imagine, how did he make this? Was he far from the canvas? Was the canvas on the floor? How much of his arm swing did it take to be so consistent, flinging? Was it a palette knife? Was it a brush? Get to know it. How did Polak do this? So yeah, watch a documentary, read a book. How did he produce this? So in the end, and here comes the metaphor. A lot of times, modern art and the weirdness of it is not so much in the end product, but certainly that counts, and what's on the frame and what it may look like if you have to look at it every day on your wall. But the deep conversation between you, the viewer, the audience, and the artist is ongoing. Because I'm saying, Polak, how did you do this? And as I'm looking at the brush, like the white parts, I'm like, ang lakas siguro ng pagtapon niya nito. Ito malamang palette knife gamit niya dito. With the oranges, he must have flicked them last because it's like above. But then how did he start it? I wonder what the first throw was. And you know what? That's the conversation. That's the conversation that happens between an artist and the audience. And I think that's what we cherish about modern art. End of my amateur presentation. And the metaphor comes. You can ask. The metaphor comes with us and our mental wellness. We are so obsessed with many of us, okay, not we. Many of us are so obsessed with with us as finished products. Like what's on the resume, how much do you weigh, what do you look like, how do you dress, who are you with, who was your date, I don't know, different measures na minsan hindi na napapansin yung process, how you got there. Hindi napapansin yung proseso, yung hinagpis, paano ka umabot dito. Kasi ang napapansin ang medal, ang trophy, kung anong nasasabit sa dingding. At okay rin naman yun, syempre, di ba? Valid measure din naman, valid measure din naman yung mga yon. Pero I think what I wanted to impart today, other than the obvious that I already said, is the metaphor of modern art is really it pushes the viewer to ask, where is this from? How did this happen? How is this art? Hindi siya valedictorian. Is she a good kid? 'Di ba? Parang hindi siya hindi siya nanalo ng whatever award. Good person ba siya? O, natalo siya sa elections. Nanalo siya sa elections, magaling ba siya? 'Di ba? Parang grabe yung ay we have many measures kasi and some more obvious than others. So I think with mental wellness, I just use the metaphor of the appreciation for the journey that is art to this day, and it's never linear, it's nebulous, it's not even in great order. Now we have the privilege actually of looking back into the art history progress to the nebulous progression that is art. It's not even isang linya. It was too hard to do that. I
Mm-mm.
tried to make it as chronological as possible, but I couldn't make my outline work. So Mara came after this and that, but I showed you him first because he's the deeper the default appreciation kasi is realist. So etc. etc. And then even when we were young, our teachers graded us on if the picture we drew with our crepas really looks like a picture. you know, ang galing ng shadow, ang galing ng ganyan. Parang, then that all changes. That all changes after a bit when other senses are involved, especially when emotion is involved, when the senses of, I don't know, relationship, reading the room, etc. When the mental wellness, other senses come in for you, I want us to stop appreciating ourselves with what is framed. Is it okay to say that? I'll start with that.
Mm.
To wrap, I would like to use the I would like us to hold on to the metaphor of modern art, where sometimes it's not the finished product. That's uh we don't stop there. I think it's good when we see people and they're not our type. We ask, where this how did this stroke happen, and how where did the choice of colors happen, how was this person raised, and for yourself as well, where did you come from, what's your childhood like, what are your parents like. Whoa, we're a nation of no, we're not a nation, we are a world of parental issues, and we I know as best as possible we just try to transcend because even the best parents have damaged us, even the most loving. Just the difference of the generation will create friction and misunderstanding and pain, even if they love us. The abusive ones, they're obvious. That's obvious, we don't need to explain that. But the subtle, chronic, repetitive pressure to like be a good person, Catholic, etc., those are the cuts that we don't even know we have wounds there. So I have a feeling, what I really just want to leave with you this afternoon, and then we'll take questions, huh? Is that it's not really the framed product or the end on the itsura where we measure if it's good art or bad art, good person, not good person. I think it's also very, very important to know that um, we're never framed. It's not done. I'll probably be framed like 2 minutes before I die, and then they can judge me there. But everyday unfinished work tayo eh. And ang galing din ito eh, kasi sa art din tayo natututo ng mag-appreciate ng untitled work, unfinished work. I mean, kahit yon hindi kahit yun may value. Kahit yun binebenta, fine-frame, di ba? At this point, ito yung study niya for this. And this is still untitled, still unsigned, yet unsigned. This was the sketch that produced this. I mean, we buy these things, which means there's already a muscle of appreciating the process. But with our person, we're a little harsh on ourselves. We really just look at what's framed or what other people can see. Everything I said, you already know. We just tied it all together into one metaphor and to one afternoon of asking these questions. And we started with the senses. So I'll end the formal input there now because I have a feeling some of you might want to ask questions and
Mm-mm.
then we can discuss. So opening the floor for questions now, and I think Ma'am Boots will
Yeah, wait.
moderate.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that very engaging um, presentation. Yes, it's a different way of looking at art history, and you see familiar images, but you raised questions that we may not necessarily ask in a classroom setting in an art historical
Yeah.
context, no, which is very refreshing. Yeah, we'd like to ask
Boots kasi,
attendees if you
no?
have any.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but kasi sa study
Mm,
in the academic study of art history, humanity, history, ang laki ng premium kasi sa chronology.
oo, yeah, yeah.
Tama naman
Mm-mm,
'yun, tama naman 'yun. Ang laki ng premium sa chronology at sa kailangan alam mo yung
date.
chronos, yung line, yung linya, o
Mm-mm,
what which
mm-mm,
came first.
mm-mm.
And there is such a premium to that. I do value that. I agree. But as we have learned with humans, um gosh, we really even the stages of grief that we are so
Mm,
familiar
mm-mm,
with, the denial, anger, bargaining, etc., and then acceptance. Wow, that doesn't happen in one line.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes in 3 hours you're feeling all for, you know, when you and sometimes when you're talking to a different group, you're already in acceptance, and then you go back and talk to an aunt, and then you're back in denial, and then you talk to, so you know that the world, despite its set
Oo.
order, despite the set order of physics and the gravitational pull of planets, no matter how set they are, when the human comes in, um, that's all shot.
Mm,
Whew, talagang we keep jumping back and forth.
oo.
And I will say this because this is a mental wellness afternoon. When you are faced with a difficult decision or a situation, let's say bagong break. So that's a universal thing I can think of. So bago kang break, alam mo na minsan naka-handle mo siya as an 8-year-old. You're not handling it like where you are now. I'm a 40-something woman, I'm a 50-something woman, I'm accomplished, etc. No, the minute you feel a break or a separation from someone, whether you're rejected or you're the one that broke up with that other person, is irrelevant. The fact that you are separated from someone, grabe yung emotional memory na yon of you as a child na naiwan sa supermarket, okay? Kahit hindi ka conscious about it, and most of the time hindi ka conscious, that's the feeling. That's the exact feeling. And so your cry is yung iyak mo talagang
Hagulgul.
high level, and then yeah, gulgul. And then your very insensitive friend will say, boyfriend lang yun, ah. Magkakahanap ka pa ng iba, right? Pero sa'yo, ang dilim, nilunok ka na ng planet. But it's actually, they're right. It is a boyfriend, and there are other people, and you probably logically don't really want to be with this one if he doesn't value you. But you feel the loss, you feel the pain. Of course, that's the mystery of our tissues, our tissues in our hearts and etc. But a large part of it is because our traumas are really time machines. They really take us back to the exact moment where we felt something resemblant of this abandonment. And if it was a 7-year-old incident na hindi ka sinundo ng maaga, nandun ka ulit, and it's the 7-year-old that's handling the situation. Um, if I may surmise, the evening of Anthony Bourdain's death, can't imagine
Mm.
how much I turned this over because I love Anthony Bourdain, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what? So he became my study. Uh, there was like about 67 missed calls on his phone. Him dialing
Mhm.
calls, him calling out to people, different people, like 4 or 5 people, 67 in total. On the phone of girlfriend, this one I just saw this in a rumor in a chismis page, but on the phone of girlfriend, 30 something missed calls, okay, from
Mhm.
him. Yeah, and allegedly the girlfriend was in London with another person. Whether they're cheating or not, I'm not sure. But here is Anthony Bourdain alone in a French hotel,
Mm. Mm.
countryside hotel, probably having a moment, possibly drunk, possibly drunk, and having really a lonely moment, a lonely evening, and no one's picking up. No one's picking up. Okay, if Anthony Bourdain took himself to the present and said,
Mm.
"I'm fucking Anthony Bourdain. I have the best job in the world. I'm a chef. I have money. I created my name. I brought myself." Took myself out of Hell's Kitchen to the world, right? And I can travel. I have the best job in the world.
Mm.
No, and I'm just gonna have a shot and sleep this off. No, but no. What possibly happened? If I will emotionally forensics him,
Mhm.
possibly there was an incident from his childhood.
Yeah.
But he has narrated this anyway, so I'm not inventing this. He did narrate in one show that he would come home early, but the landlord only gives him one key, so he has to wait for his mother. So he
Mm.
sits on the stoop, and the mother comes, and sometimes the mom's late, so he's just sitting there until it's dark, until nakapasok siya. And when you're 6 years old, 8 years old, that's large. That's not,
Mm. Mm.
hindi yan maliit. When you're a child, everything is big and the pain is dark. So I have a feeling, if I will forensics it, that evening in that hotel in France, he was really feeling the exact feeling of abandonment when he was a kid, and there was no one picking up, no problem.
Mm.
But if he brought himself to 2018, which is at that time 2019, what year did he die? Anyway, 2018.
2018.
He'll probably say, "I'm Anthony Bourdain.
Mm.
I'm Anthony Bourdain. I'm a 50 something man, and girlfriend's not picking up. A call in the morning. Tulog ko na to." Yun ang balance. Yun ang mentally well.
Oo.
Mare-recognize mo yung dilim. Mararamdaman mo yung loneliness. Madilim talaga. Iiyak ka talaga. Pero kaya mong umabot sa point na magsasabi ng, pero ako to. And I've handled shit before, so I'll be
Mm.
fine. So, tutulog ko lang to pag may sunrise na at may may kape na ulit, okay na ako ulit. Or
So
or you'll say, magkakape ako ngayon, hindi ako matutulog. Pwede rin yun, kaya may
mm.
insomniacs, right? But if you're not, if you don't have a grip of the wellness pendulum, against your will, you'll be swinging back to a
Mm.
younger time. And
Mm.
you'll make your 8-year-old handle the situation. You know the
So
super
you relive the
cliche of
trauma?
not really, you don't even know that you're reliving it. You
Ah, okay.
just
Yep.
remember this
Mm.
darkness.
Mm.
And when you remember that darkness, you're back there. And
Mm.
that is handling the situation, not you today.
Mhm.
You've had this. Whenever there's a breakup, no matter how old the person is or her accomplished, they're 16 and they're heartbroken and they're listening to Bread or Air Supply or I don't know, or Karen Carpenter. And voila! It doesn't matter if you're CEO of whatever.
Mm.
Once you feel that pain, you're back to the last time you felt that pain because it doesn't grow old with you
Mhm.
unless you process it. And you're just back there. You're not the adult deciding. Ano, parang ang layo bigla ng logic. Totoo. Kasi bumabalik ka dati. So,
Mm.
I think it's also really, it's the unprocessed. It's the
Mhm.
unprocessed trauma. And I will go a little further as a psychotherapist. This is why there's value in kwento, in writing, in painting about it, in creating something. Kahit ikwento mo lang sa friend mo. Kasi
Mm.
nagiging story na lang siya. Hindi siya
Hmm.
neurotransmission cocktail in your brain na hindi mo maintindihan. Right? Does that make sense? Kasi nasa board
Na-process
of
mo?
trust, Kasi kahit ikwento mo lang, kahit hindi mo
Mm,
masyadong himayin, kahit hindi in the language of wellness
mm,
and etc. Kung naikwento mo kasi mas madali if you are able to mention it, that means that feeling traveled from your right brain to your left to the
mm,
language part eh. So somehow may
hmm,
nabawasan, naging
oo.
words na siya. Yeah. My mother has this expression, okay, hindi na ako galit kasi nag-transform yung anger ko kasi kilay na lang siya ngayon. Parang na-express ko na siya sa
Oo.
bakit na yung kilay ko eh,
Oh,
na-express ko.
I can relate to that.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Pero pag hindi mo sinabi, hindi mo in-express kasi Boots, that's exactly the most depressing
Oo.
thing.
Yeah.
When you are feeling large disgust and you need to do this, yes po, opo, opo, opo. Oh my God.
Mm,
That,
mm,
that's depression. Because you're really
mm.
depressing. You're pressing down the honest thing you're feeling. That's the most depressing. When you're heartbroken and you need to look normal the next day in the office. I think that's depression.
Yeah.
No chance. No chance to express. Lalabas at
Mm.
lalabas. So my mom will say, hindi, nakilay ko na, okay lang. Naakyat ko na, I'm okay na. Tapos yung iba, naiyak ko na. Di ba?
Oo,
O yung
oo. O
musicians
nagtaray
na
ka na,
kilala.
oo.
O yung mga musicians na kilala ko, o may buong album na ako, di ba? Parang nakabuo
Oh, very
ng
creative, very productive.
kasi energy naman ng feelings. So it has to go somewhere.
Mm,
It's gotta go somewhere.
yeah.
Minsan you numb it out by drinking or
Mm,
drugs even or escape any escape dating someone else distracting because it demands to be felt and so you gotta deflect so sometimes you choose an addiction whether
mm,
it's shopping or etc for women we love buying shoes okay and I well the Imelda what's it phenomenon because when you buy shoes you don't see your bill when you fit it it's just your foot so when you when you fit your
I
shoes
didn't think of it that
ganda,
way.
ang ganda. Pero 'pag mag-shopping ka ng bathing
Damit.
bathing suit,
Oo.
depressed ka 'pag alis mo kasi ang pangit ng ilaw dun sa sukatan, eh, 'di ba? It's so fluorescent and you can see like, woo, cellulite in full glory.
Yeah.
And so you leave and say, I don't really need a swimsuit. I need a new body, right? But with shoes, when you buy shoes or a bag, it's always
Mm,
nice. Kasi when you look, oh, bag lang eh. When
mm.
you look, eh, ano naman, gaano kapangit naman ng
Accessories kang kailangan.
hanggang hanggang saan naman yung range ng pangit na ankles? Halos wala, 'di ba? So 'pag magsuot ka ng sapatos, laging happy. So I think that's why there is that draw. There is that draw because you're looking for that fix. So
Mhm.
any questions?
Yes,
Over
maraming
talk
ano,
because I
actually maraming questions and comments. So
okay, go.
first, let me read them. Joe Aurea Imbong. I love Ang Cox's works, his lines and color tones. Also Sanso style. What does that say of me as viewer? Parang sinapsychoanalyze.
Oo.
Nagpapapsychoanalysis siya.
Nagpapasaykahan. Ah, woo, ang hirap naman ito. Pwede ba kitang i-charge? Dala ko lang. Uy, loko
Oo
lang.
nga eh.
Um,
Ay,
well, Joe, I think I'm not psychic, okay? I'm just gonna do this as an art therapist. You're not afraid of looking at bold bold things. Parang na-appreciate mo yung kasi some people can't appreciate ang kyuko ka. Kasi ang lakas,
mm,
ang diin, ang yan. Ikaw hindi ka takot. Yung iba they'll really stay in pastel or there are days when it's watercolors that you look for kasi yan. So I think if you appreciate ang Kyukok signs, I have a feeling in the color, he's loud, madiin. I think kayang-kaya mong makakita nun with calmness. So maybe that's
mm,
where you're comfortable.
yeah,
Sanso
oo.
also, Sanso is very decisive. He's very decisive with his color palette, with his strokes, etc. Even palette knife. So I have a feeling you're actually a very decisive person, and you don't need to rest so much. I think you have an innate way of resting that to look at art, you'd rather be stimulated. You
Mm,
don't seek art to relax. I think you seek art to be stimulated. I could be completely wrong, but most of the time, the people who like Ankyu Cox words are a little braver than the usual because they're parang it draws them. I
oo.
like this. It's so decisive, ganyan. Yeah.
Although I
I don't know.
actually
I know.
I like his black and white works. The series of black
Yes,
and
yes,
white
yes.
paintings, very strong kahit walang colors. Okay,
Yeah.
from Babette Lalarga. You said even the most loving parents could leave a trail of wounds. How does art come in healing a wounded person?
Well, yeah, I said even the most loving parent. I need to tell you this. When people enter the I need to figure out my mental wellness into that realm, when they say I need to get here, it most often leads back to the parents. Okay, how you were parented. It swings. It swings both ways. Uh, Even the best parent and the most loving, because by the mere fact they're from a different generation, possibly a different socioeconomic background, coming from the war, they will really have different, they will value different things from you. So there will always be friction. Uh, and when you explore mental wellness, please, it's very important to know that this is not seeking vengeance or apologies from parents. This is just completely seeing the picture and say, oh, yeah, that's how it happened. And of course, they're worried about the Meralco bill. They can't always be like coloring book loving all the time. Pero kung natsyempohan ka on your birthday, ito sa bad day, for your parents because the Meralco bill is coming and they're not quite sure how to pay it, and it's your birth, the scar on you is so deep. But they didn't mean that. So mental wellness is not seeking vengeance for those who hurt us, not at all. It's just knowing, okay, so that happened. But unless forgiveness is your goal, but I'm not gonna include the religious aspect here at all. It's just that how does art come? Well, there are many ways actually. Either you producing, you creating, or you escaping into, or you actually just appreciating. Many things come in healing a wounded person. Um, Anything helps kasi. When you're healing, anything helps talaga eh. But number one is you need to know where your wound is.
Mm,
You need to know where your wound is kasi if you're in denial still, you don't even quite know where you're stabbed. So you don't know what to press, and you're just bleeding out. So how does art come in? Uh, there's a certain silence and conversation that comes with looking at things that are aesthetically pleasing. That's not bullshit. When
mm,
your optical nerves register in your brain something that's pleasant to look at, there's a cocktail of, of serotonin that happens, and I think that's one. So when you say how does art come in, many ways. Is it Babeth, Elizabeth? Many ways. Either you producing it as expression, you as reading it and seeing as metaphor, or you just escaping from the minute you have 5 minutes. If you go to whatever museum and you're at the Met and there's a different silence kasi sa Metropolitan Museum, pagpasok mo, lahat naman ng galleries may different silence eh. May ibang amoy din. Alam na alam ko yung amoy ng Met. At saka yung parang, okay, amoy Marcos, ano man tawag doon? Amoy Marcos limestone. Hindi, loko lang. Amoy Marcos asbestos yung CCP kasi. Pag
yeah.
pumasok ka, may nangyayari sa senses mo eh. So, somehow nakaka-provide ng escape. So,
Mm,
whether you producing, you enjoying, you pondering, or you using it as a stimulant to think of and to produce other things.
mhm,
I don't know. Actually, I don't know. No. Ako kasi I'm an advocate of you creating eh. Kahit pangit.
mm,
For me, just produce something. I mean, anything. You know what? You already do it when you do cryptic Facebook posts and you're so angry at the government and you actually write a Facebook post that's not mentioning anyone in government, and you write a metaphor, that's poetry. That's practice, that's healing. Even when you write on your, if you still write with a pen on your journal, one word larger than the other, like because your
oo.
lunch date is say boots, and you put lunch with boots, and then the meeting with Ateneo Art Gallery smaller. That's expressing. That's art. That's creating. Uh, and I love that because you incorporate it into your days. In fact, I'm a big fan of journaling because you incorporate a creative motion into what's every day, your
Mm,
ordinal day. And my favorite word is ordinary. And it's ordinary does not mean special. Ordinary means ordinal. There is an order. Something will follow. Something
mm,
preceded.
mm,
Like ordinal numbers. And then when a priest is ordained, that's the same root word. You
Mhm.
are ordained, and you're not made special. Ha? Ordained means from now on, this is your normal everyday ordinal.
Mm.
So we're so used to ano kasi ordinary special na parang pag ordinary hindi special. Of course
Oo.
not. Dami kayo special na hindi special, di ba? But art can come in the ordinary, in the
Mm.
ordinal. So
Yeah.
that's one. So Mark,
So you mentioned you like you're into journaling, so you keep journals
yes,
regularly.
actually since I was 10.
Oh, what? How does your journal look like? I mean,
Wow,
an
you want
open
to know?
page. Does it have pictures
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
words
I
and
don't know if I have one now. I really want to show you my when the pandemic started. It's
that
really
would be
funny
interesting.
because all
Because
of it is X'd out and said
mm-mm.
virus cancel, virus cancel, virus cancel. Wait, let me see.
I think that that's something. Nasaan ka na?
Here, I'm
I
here.
think that's something constructive that our listeners could
Yeah.
do. Even if it's a bit late, we're already in the eighth month of the lockdown. But if
Oo.
you are feeling some anxieties, maybe keeping a journal. Nasa na yung speaker natin na wala na.
Oh, I'm here. I can hear you. I'm
Ah,
sorry.
sige. So, keeping a journal might be something
That's
therapeutic, no?
I really think so. Kasi
Mm.
nasa araw-araw eh. Sobrang
Oo.
health. It's a $1 billion industry, okay, this
Pero kasi
journal.
minsan, kasi I tried starting doing that,
Okay.
pero parang pressured ako na kailangan
Ah,
meaningful
ay,
yung
hindi.
isusulat ko,
Oh my
no? So siguro
gosh.
yun ang mali nga, no? Na tama yung
Okay.
sinabi mo na um, recording what is ordinary is a good
Yes, and
start, no?
I have this favorite tagline of was it a pen? I don't know which pen brand it was. I'm sure it wasn't Mont Blanc. It was too cheesy. Parang the tagline when I was in high school was I must have something interesting to record my boredom. So this is
Mm.
January, uh,
Okay.
2020.
Wala
So
pang
okay
ano
pa siya.
yan,
May
pre-COVID
mga
yan,
deposit,
pre-COVID.
may mga deposit slip,
Ah, okay.
ganyan. Because I went to Bangkok here, etc., etc. And then this is so funny. It's getting weirder. So I went to the sea, and I went to KL. I went to Singapore,
Mm.
and then Bangkok. So okay pa siya. Ito nagsa-start na. Okay, March na to. March 9. Virus canceled. Virus canceled. Everything's virus
Oh.
canceled. Virus canceled, and then blank because here I'm COVID positive.
Ay, tama.
Because here I was,
You got the virus nga pala. Oo.
the whole time I was COVID positive. There's
So,
nothing.
so you count, okay.
I know.
There were
And
blank pages.
then I decided to hold sessions for wellness now.
Mm-mm.
These are my notes about my clients. You can't read that.
Mm.
I know, it's so funny. Yeah, you can like some it's just notes of my
Oo.
yeah. Uh
So
yeah.
how many journals
Some are really messy.
do you have now? Do you keep them? How many do you have?
Well, I've kept a journal since I was 10 actually.
Oo nga.
The house can burn. I can leave my husband but not
Not
the
that.
box.
Okay. So sa ano
So
sa
yeah.
disaster preparedness number one yan. Okay. Okay, there's a
Actually yung
question.
aso.
And the
Sige.
aso, okay.
Sige, aso muna. Oo.
From Mark Q via our Facebook page. Enjoy the discussion. I would like to ask what art style or art movement is your most favorite? So something
Oh my
personal to you.
gosh. No, that's a terrible question to ask an art fan.
Yeah.
Because it's like saying your favorite musician.
Mm,
Um shit, ang hirap nito ah. Alam mo, yung basis ko na lang ay yung I don't need a mood for. I
mm,
can view him anytime. Or
yeah.
sige, ganito na lang. Ang definition ko na lang ng favorite ay kumbaga sa TV, nagpapalit ako ng channel, titigil ako kung siya,
Oo.
parang ganun.
Oo.
Ah,
Oh, so
ah,
ano yun?
ah,
Marami.
oo nga eh. Teka lang, nahihilo ako. Nahilo ako bigla. Well, gustong-gusto ko yung ang dami. Teka lang.
Kahit
Irarattle
isa o
ko na lang.
dalawa. Oo, siguro.
Si
Sige. Oo.
Roscoe, Hackney, Magritte will always be
Magritte.
fascinating to me, etc. Uh Chagall not so much, but when I learned a little more about him, parang curious din
Mm.
ako about
Mm.
kaya pala ganito. That's what I mean. That's what I mean. I was
Oo,
judging them
oo.
on the basis of optics yung
Mm.
pogi ba o hindi. But then pag malaman mo yung story niya, ibang
Story, oo.
klase
Yung
din.
context, no? Oo.
Let me give you an example. And dahil kaibigan ko naman siya, I'm sure hindi siya magagalit sa akin na siya yung
Oo.
example,
So,
okay?
sino yun?
Ah, marami actually. Ah, sige, yaman mo na, papatayin nila ako. Pero sige, alam mo si Romy Garduse, okay, hindi siya kapugian, pero na-climb niya ang Everest, di ba?
Okay.
Pogi siya bigla, di ba? Kasi nauna siya sa Mount Everest, eh, 'di ba?
Mm.
Lord de Vera, oh my, oh, 'di ba? Hindi naman Diyos ko, 'di ba? Hindi ko man lang ipa-prom date 'yan, pero actually friend ko 'to. Pero 'pag malaman mo na halos Hall of Fame na siya sa palangka, popogi
Mm.
bigla,
Mm.
'di ba?
Mm.
Gano'n 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 din 'yun. So for me si
It's the
Magritte isa,
substance. Oo.
si Magritte yung isa, David
Mhm.
Hockney talaga, eh, is really
Mm.
for me si David Hockney is pop music, yung wala akong problema marinig siya everywhere kahit sa jeep gano'n.
Mm.
Parang welcome siya sa'kin gano'n. Kasi may mga ibang art 'pag nakikita ko I look down, eh, like,
Yeah.
I don't appreciate like The Garden of Earthly Delights, that kinda annoys me,
Oh, si
Eponymous
ano,
Bosch.
Bosch?
Yeah, I
Mm.
know it's a fascinating,
Oo.
but I need
Yeah,
a
yeah.
mood for it. I
Oo,
need to
oo, that's
dive
true.
into it.
Mm. Mm.
But when I see it like halimbawa ginawa siyang calendar na hindi ako tumitingin.
Okay.
Iba siya sa mga ang dali tignan kasi ng Monet, ang
Oo.
dali tignan ng
Yeah.
lalo na yung mga Rouen Cathedral at all hours of the light, ganyan.
Mm.
Parang, sarap. Pero may mga ibang artwork na parang, okay, sumakit lang ulo ko dun. Kailangan ko ng frame of mind. You know,
Mm.
art is it's like you asked me who my favorite friend is. And I think the answer to that is who is a friend that's always welcome,
Yeah.
who is a friend that can actually ring your doorbell at any time and papapasukin mo. I think it's that.
Mm. Mm.
Kasi most of the time, mag-appointment ka naman, di ba? Parang, text ka muna bago ka
Oo,
tumawag.
oo.
Gano'n naman eh, di ba? So, yun yung mga artwork na parang welcome naman, welcome all the time. Yung mga
Anytime.
iba kailangan ko bumuelo. Yung iba kailangan ko
Mm.
bumuelo. So, wow, favorite. That's a tough question.
Sige.
I can't ever answer that.
Okay. Okay, from Anne Morales, what is the ideal perspective of looking into an artwork given that we may be subjective, seeing in different points of view? How does one see what the artist is presenting?
I don't think you
So
can
it's
ever
really,
see. I
uh-uh.
don't think you can ever really see what an artist is presenting
Mm, mm,
unless it's a straight up uh i- it's pretty much like the song I played earlier. If you
mm,
were here at the start, it's a very decisive song. Clearly it's a good mood song, right?
mm,
Clearly. And then what's the word? And then you see the picture. It's a little vague. It's a room with a light that's one of the windows is in cellophane red and cellophane blue and etc. So I don't think one ever really sees what the artist is trying to present. But certainly the artist presented something. Was there a
mm,
process there? Yes. May sinadya ba siyang meaning? Malamang. Makukuha mo ba? Well, kung malinaw na malinaw siya, oo. Pero kung hindi, open to interpretation.
mm,
Alam mo parang talaga siyang humans, eh, kasi may mga ibang human beings na they're really funny and parang straight up, like, but actually mentally it's such a smoke screen at how sad they are.
mm.
Does it make sense? Uh, and so yeah, the audience, that's the power of the audience. You can decide what
Oo.
they're saying. You have the power to say, I think this is what Chagall meant, or I
Mm,
think this is whoever meant it. I think that's also the anguish of an artist kasi when they throw out their work, it's open to interpretation,
mm.
even if it's stupid. And it's the same when you tweet, by the way, this day and age.
Oo.
You tweet something, it's so open to interpretation from the
Mm.
very, very perceptive to the very, very not perceptive. Let's just use that word.
Pero
And
putting that
go ahead.
in the context of what we do in museums, actually it's something that we can take advantage of, no? um, Artworks that we present can be given different meanings or
Absolutely.
context, no? Oo.
Absolutely. And that is
Um,
also the power of the curator.
yes.
Because you can lean and you can,
Mm-mm.
kumbaga sa lawyer, you can ask leading questions and actually
Mm-mm.
lead them a
Mm-mm.
certain way. Absolutely. But how does one see what the artist is presenting? You really
Mm-mm.
bring yourself to it.
Mm-mm.
Even your past experiences, your mood that day that you saw the painting, the reason for why you're in the museum in the first place. If it was just a field trip and you were forced to go there and
Forced to
arms
go.
forward, I mean, that's completely different from you actually taking the time out to go to a museum on your own volition and showing up
Mm-hmm.
there. I um my this is really funny. My father was in the judiciary, and he has some days where my mother leaves me with him, and as all fathers go, as loving as they are, he wasn't a very good bantay. So he would leave me in the Metropolitan Museum because the Court of Appeals is kind of near, and so he'll leave me in the Metropolitan Museum, as there are very very little fears of pedophile. I think at pedophiles at that time, but I'm sure there were many. We just weren't aware. But he would leave me there, and it was the Angkor retrospective. It was the Joseph Boys, and
Oh,
that was
heavy.
the 2 straight weeks my mother left me with my dad, and I was dropped off there and he'd come back for me. And I must say this, I didn't get it, of course. I was a child. That's how funny na ang Kyukok yung minention eh. Now, I love ang Kyukok because
Mm,
of that memory. Because of that,
mm.
wow, that was funny, and that's an interaction. That was the best my dad could do. Let's leave her in a museum.
Yeah,
Why do you think I'm in art history? Seriously, I think it came from there
maybe
because
that
I'm so
one.
used. It was
So
uh, it was also a place of solace and
I
silence.
just want to
So
share. I think that's because I think my connection to art also started because of what my father did. He brought us to see the exhibit of the warriors, the Chinese warriors.
oh wow, the
It was the
terracotta. Yeah.
terracotta warriors here in somewhere in the
Wow,
Phil
arts,
site
yeah.
pa yata yun, oo. I
Right.
remember seeing that, and I think that actually triggered. So thank God for our fathers, no? 'Di ba?
Yeah, that's
We
Emperor
never
Shi
really,
Huangdi.
yeah.
Somehow may na-contribute, di ba?
Oo nga, oo. Okay,
Well, yeah, that's true. Sorry, I don't think I answered it, but I think my answer to that is that's your power. You can
mm-mm,
actually misinterpret, and that's the risk and
mm-mm,
the vulnerability of an artist when they throw out work. They're subject to
mm-mm. Yeah.
stupid people to interpret their work a certain way. Grabing
Mm,
risk yun, no? So kasi dalawa lang yun eh. Either i-outline mo yung eksaktong gusto mong sabihin para hindi ka ma-misinterpret.
mm-mm. Or
That's
open to interpretations.
oh, open to
Mm-mm.
interpretation. Minsan nga kahit malinaw, hindi pa rin nakukuha.
Oo. May
Okay lang.
other interpretation pa rin. Just a comment from Lena Kabangbang. Funny no mention of Van Gogh, the poster boy of tortured artist. Kasi hindi lang naman tortured
Well,
artist ang ano natin.
ano ba yung sasabihin? Oo nga, no, hindi pa natin na si Van Gogh. Pero well, madali kasi si Van Gogh aralin
Mm.
eh. So,
Mm.
parang sayang minutes. Madali naman siya i-Google. So, feeling ko parang sana parang I was so focused on the afternoon being more a synthesis of things, and then you will
Mm.
Google after this
Mm.
rather than kasi if you can Google it, I'd really rather not explain it. I'd really rather not explain. Even the cutting off his ear, that's a little bit obvious for a mental wellness study. That's
Mm. Mm.
yeah, you can do that. You
But
can do that. That's easy. But you're
don't
right,
don't
tortured
you think
artist.
it's interesting yung recent film about him
Oh,
na
I
parang
saw that.
it's
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that.
a way another way of contextualizing his life,
Yeah,
'di
yes,
ba?
yes.
So parang iniiba rin natin yung tingin dun sa ano, it's
Oh,
not just about his
ear.
mental not about just his ear, pero
No.
maraming tao na ano no na parang involved sa buhay niya, which made
Oh,
it more
sila
interesting,
Tio.
'di ba? Oo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pero ano rin kasi yun yung slight danger ng less dimensions of appreciating.
Mhm.
Minsan naiipit ka doon, 'di ba?
Mm.
Parang kasi kung ako si Vincent, Naks. Ako si Vincent, ah, maasar ako na parang tenga ko lang yung pinakaalam mo, eh.
Mm, mm.
Parang tenga na kinat ko, by the way.
Yeah.
Nakakaasar naman, eh, parang yun yung pinakaalam mo of me. Joni Mitchell certainly didn't help that one kasi she made it into her whatever in her album, but I suppose it's like you just knowing one thing about. I mean, that's how it's a bit unfair, no? If we're
Mm.
judged based on one aspect. May I digress a bit? That
Yes.
that is snobbery, by the way.
Mm, mm,
That's how snobbery happens. When you determine the wholeness of something based on one part.
mm,
That is snobbery. It's not even what's sikat and what's not, what's
mm,
obscure, what's not. No. You take one part. Halimbawa, gosh, ang dami kong maaalas ka rito. Pero please forgive me if you're, like, halimbawa sa akin, pag naka-crocs, hindi na yan pogi kahit Keanu Reeves pa yan. Hindi ko yan i-date. Okay? Pag naka-crocs. Many reasons. Okay? Many reasons. Hindi dahil ako'y snob, kundi dahil, alaskahin siya ng mga kapatid ko at ayoko mag-date. I-defend ko pa yung date ko na naka-crocs. Diba? Parang, by the way, maganda yung crocs at okay siya sa disaster response. Ang sinasabi ko lang, may mga reasons tayo for snobbery. And ganun din si kay Vincent Van Gogh. Parang mo siyang sinabing, si Chris Aquino nagka-STD. Parang, ha? That's not just what she's about. Chris Aquino is so multidimensional and so is Vincent Van Gogh. Then it brings us to the mental wellness exercise of really not judging by one
mm.
strain.
Yeah.
If I were judged by a single tweet, wow, whew, I'm gonna have so much to explain, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Okay,
but
from
Van
Ina.
Gogh is super cool. Please study him. I mean, he's really. I'm sure you know that. It's fine.
Yeah. From Ina Musico. Sorry, taking pause. There's a lot for us these days. What I want to know is, though there is no one way of doing so, what kind of exercises can we do while looking at art that can kind of help us unravel things that are plaguing us? Is it a matter of meditating with the work, recognizing which details of the work we're drawn to, a kind of
Diagnosis.
self-diagnosing from there? Yeah.
Well, our art is not, especially the object that you're looking at. It's not magic in that traditional sense of magic where there's an arm that's gonna come out and really Deus ex machina, and no, not at all. But can it help you keep still? I think so. I think so.
Mm-mm, mm-mm,
Because we are restless by nature. Your brain is either 10 weeks ago or 10 years from now. So if you're 10 years ago, you're either depressed or, or if you're 10 years from now, you're anxious, you're afraid. So
mm-mm,
it's very rare that we're in the present minute. And I know you always hear this, even in Lululemon ads. You probably see this, that you have to be present. I think kung merong artwork at kaya mong pagmasdan, the fact that may 3 minutes ka na nasa isang square lang, ang laki na nun. Ang laki na nun sa wellness kasi nagstay put ka in the
mm-mm,
minute. Hindi ka nag-fly to the future na, shit, wala na akong pambayad. At hindi ka pass back na parang bakit ko mabrenakan to, 'di ba? Parang the fact that you brought yourself to the minute, and if an artwork, if a visual artwork can do that for you, sure. If a song does that for you, stay with the song. Kahit 4
mm,
minutes 20 seconds lang, pakinggan mo yung buong 4 minutes 20 seconds hanggang mag-fade yung huling drums. That 4 minutes, that's your meditation. You are present. And I think self-diagnosing, that's, you already know your diagnosis. Okay, can I just say that? You know it. You just need to find either a way to make it clear, surface, or verbalize it. This is why
mm,
journaling is important. But truly, if you're confused, then that's because you're not keeping still. An artwork can keep you still. And yes, you can ponder more on one detail than the other, absolutely. But I really think what's more important is that you are brought to the present day, like November 4th, 2020. Like you're not in 1979 and you're not in, 2039. Uh, that's our default eh. So if every now and then kaya mo pumunta sa present, if an artwork can do that for you, that's great. This is why I go to galleries. So I can at least have 3 minutes where I'm looking like, oh, that's this one was palette knife, oh, and then this one was, ay, parang nag-shift siya dito. Siguro may pinatong siya dito na nagkamali siya.
mm,
Just the fact that I'm there for a minute and 10 seconds, I am in 2020. That's great meditation. And okay, this is really cliche, but I will say it anyway. Do you know that everything is just handling your oxygen? That's all it is. When you're nervous, you breathe so little. When you're super relaxed, you can do long breaths or etc. I can't always make you long breaths on a normal basis because that's really you get dizzy. So, but every now and then really breathe in and really breathe out with some evenness. And if you can do it for 30 seconds looking at one painting, then the oxygen coming in and out is already your meditation. And then when you're clearer, usually you're clearer when you have oxygen. I don't see you, I don't see any of you, but from wherever you are, just really take a deep breath now, like, and then let it go for like 5 seconds. You already feel better. You already feel better. I shit you not. And it's really just managing oxygen. If a
Mm-mm.
beautiful artwork helps to take three great even breaths, then that's it. Diagnosis will happen. Diagnosis will show up, I think. Of course,
Okay.
I'm talking
Thank
about the
you.
statistical norm, kasi meron namang outside the statistical norm na talagang kailangan may professional help talaga, may meds, may
Mm-mm.
program, may routine. I'm talking about the statistically normal range that's really facing the pandemic. Parang
Mm-mm. Yeah.
that's who we're talking.
I get yun yung ano eh, no, na we can't easily go out,
Oh,
'di ba? How can we cope with it? Here's a question from an artist. Sorry, nawala. Okay. Ronald Dulay, I'm a Benguet-based visual artist diagnosed with recurrent depression and have been regularly seeing a psychiatrist. I've also been taking antidepressant medication for 3 years. Thank you for sharing this, something very personal. And I think that's what Gang is saying. The
oh,
fact
I
that you're
appreciate it.
sharing, no?
Thank you.
What are the possible coping mechanisms would you recommend for someone who's going through a depressive episode to continue practicing one's craft? I also have an artist friend who had a parang bumalik yung depression niya and art
Yeah, yeah.
really helped her, no? Oo.
I think, well, Ronald, thank you for sharing the medication because I need to tell you this, meds, antidepressants, they are not performance enhancers, okay? They're not like anabolic steroids where you get big muscles, ganon. They are performance restorers. Pretty much like vitamins. Like they restore you to zero. Kasi prior to that, you were below zero. You were naka-negative. So I appreciate the candor that you just shared. You're on meds for 3 years. I'm not glorifying it, not at all. If it's needed, the crutch is needed. And when you have a really good psychiatrist with you, and you decide to wean, they will do it in the proper way, like slowly wean out of it. Because if you just stop on your own, you spiral times 20. And I will not advise it at all. Do not stop meds without medical
Advice.
supervision.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So, possible coping mechanisms. I have an answer. Do you want to hear this? You are the one that you know what your go-to sources are. Okay? You know what your go-to sources are. Cine, Netflix, milk tea, billiards, running, uh, sapatos. I don't know. Alam mo yung go-to sources mo, okay? Ang gusto ko lang i-share ay sana yung go-to sources mo, Ron, ay um, hindi irreversible kung mistake man. Let's say, I, okay, never mind. Maybe we'll discuss that another time. Because very many people who are going through episodic recurrent depression, nakakalimutan nila ano yung go-to sources nila. So
Mm-hmm.
magmamadali. Either maglalasing, magche-change ng state of mind, sabog, ganyan. Kasi, you know what? Mas madali magsabi ng I'm drunk kaysa sa I have an existential, dreadful, dark feeling right now that I cannot explain. But when I woke up this morning, the world was gray. It's just so hard to explain that. It's just easier to say, medyo lasing ako ngayon. Okay? That's how you change your state of, that's a default. But your coping mechanisms, ikaw yung may menu Ronald, hindi ako Ikaw yung may menu niyan. So, hopefully lang tanggalin mo yung may mga irreversible harm kung meron man. Sana wala ever. Alam mo, dasal ko, lahat ma-addict sa exercise. Yung parang, sana lahat ma-addict sa walking, taking long walks in the park. Parang, sana pwedeng ganun, ano? Pero, I don't know, we choose our addictions based on what it soothes So, hopefully, you will seek soothing. You will seek solace in spaces and people and places that have your best interest, that will take care of you in the silence of. This is why religion is alive all these years, because it's a space where people seek solace. Of course, it has disappointed in catastrophic ways, but there, Ronald, it's great that you have help Pero yung possible coping mechanism, ikaw ang may menu. For me, hanapin mo dun yung pinaka nakaka-promote ng better handling of oxygen. Kung naa-addict ka sa bumili ng art materials at you can afford it naman at di mo kailangan nakawin, go. Go. Go ahead. Kahit apat na yung Cherylian blue mo, iapat mo, no problem. Kasi magkakaroon ng one evening at 3 a.m. iisipan mong mag-paint. So may tulong na nandun yung paints. So, does that make sense? Minsan yun yung difference di ba? Kaya ako nagko-collage kasi nakakalimutan ko bumili ng paint lagi. Pero lagi ako may magazine na pwede kong i-murder, di ba? Minsan parang magsisisi ako the next day. Ba't ka ba pinutol ka? Pero okay lang. But yeah, whatever will make you survive the next 10 minutes. Just get to the next 10 minutes. And balik ka sa oxygen lagi Always remember, manage the oxygen. Ganyan. Kahit with sound. Ganyan. Kahit with sound. May tulong. Oo. I like
So
what
I hope that helped, Ronald. Yep.
Sorry hindi ako maka-specific na sagot kasi parang I can't assume I know the circumstance.
Oo, yeah, of
Alam ko
course.
ikaw ang may go-to. Alam mo yung listahan nung sa'yo Sana nga
Mm.
nandun lagi ang long walks at the beach di ba? Parang sana may ganun. Oo. Kahit yung mga ganun-ganun lang, mga milk tea, ganyan, parang, wag naman tayo umabot sa heroin, shabu, ganyan, parang ang layo kasi may mga 1 million choices pa bago ka umabot sa
Oo.
substance sa bad
Yung yung
substance. So,
constructive,
unahin muna
constructive.
natin, oo. Unahin muna natin
Oo.
para ubusin mo naman lahat ng options bago ka umabot sa harmful.
Again, from a comment from Lena Kobangbang. Do you know her? She's a visual artist.
Yes, I
Of
met
course,
her
you know
through,
her,
I don't
no?
know if she remembers me. I don't know if she remembers me.
Um,
I met her through Bubbles, actually.
okay. I think the point of life is not to be happy, but just to live, and that includes living with the pain and sadness. Um,
Absolutely true. The
mm-mm,
goal is not to cartwheel with joy every day because that's not
mm-mm.
realistic and that's tiring. And I'm sure if you cartwheel every day, it can get boring. So I think the goal is that you can regulate enough, you are pliant emotionally enough
Mm,
to know that nothing stays like longer than a season. Everything talaga is season. So yung sa Gen Z, they have a hashtag that's walang forever. They always take it as
mm,
negative because it's always associated with romantic love not lasting. But hashtag walang forever is my favorite tagline because yay, walang admin na forever, walang walang bad season na forever,
walang
wala
virus na forever.
lilipas, 'di ba? And kung masaya man, say for the walang forever kahit na at least you had this, 'di ba? Yeah, learn from nature actually.
Mm-mm.
Leaves turn brown. That's just how it is. Yeah. So yeah, I agree with Lena completely. The goal is not happy, The goal is pliant enough to bounce back from a dark day and present enough to enjoy a happy day.
Yeah. Um, well, let's proceed with another comment from a question from Lena. May difference kaya if in denial of a trauma or persistence on a trauma pero wala pala? May ganun ba talaga? So parang
Persistence on a
persistence on a trauma pero wala naman palang trauma? Ano yun? Parang iniimbento lang? Parang,
Meron gano'n,
yeah,
meron
I
gano'n.
think may ganun, oo.
Thank you for asking that. Meron akong very small explanation for that. Um, Nate, deep instinct ng brain ang maghanap ng explanation. Ay, wala kang choice. Yun yung instinct ng brain. Yun yung duty ng brain. Okay? Pag may nakalutang na scissors sa air, hahanapin mo yung paano nakalutang to? May invisible ano ba? May string ba or ganyan? Hahanapin mo. So, minsan, Lena, may dark day ka or may dark season at hindi ka sure saan galing, hahanap ka ng explanation. Okay? Let me give you an example. I wake up really feeling angry and I'll say it's probably our helper that she didn't ABC. It's probably my mom because she said ABC. I need to explain it eh. Kailangan ko siya
Mm.
i-explain eh. And sometimes, yung explanations natin ay yung pinaka-obvious. Must be my husband. Must be the, you know, kaya naiinis tayo sa mga irrelevant people because we need to explain our mood. But actually, they didn't really offend you. Though. Who
Mm.
cares? I mean, why am I offended by Sal Panelo? I mean, I don't know him. He doesn't know me. I think I was just having a bad day, so I can stay in back. And then Sal Panelo is the easiest, to explain my bad mood because what's that outfit? But it's fine. So, but most of the time, it's actually something that you're probably not exploring because most of the time we're really ping ponging between escaping, avoiding, and rare yung umupo tayo sa present and actually look at it. Kaya nga, I'm such a fan of maghanap ka ng kaibigan na, na you really trust at aalagaan niya yung kwento mo. Kasi ang laki ng relief na nakwento mo. When a phantom becomes a story between two friends who are really taking care of each other, it's not that big anymore. It becomes a story. Persistence of a trauma pero wala pala. Oo. Ano yun? Need yun ng tao to explain something tas hindi pa niya maamin. I'm gonna give a really brash metaphor, okay? Very obvious metaphor. If somebody was sexually molested as a child, if somebody was sexually abused as a child, there is great courage and deep difficulty to admit that it happened. Many reasons. You don't want to remember it. It's too painful. It's probably someone you trusted. There's shame. I don't know why, but there's always shame, but there shouldn't be if you think about it. So hindi mo yan tinitignan every day. No? Hindi yan kasama sa repertoire of your stories every day. If there's an incident where it closely resembles it, siguro pumito yung nasa construction, and you get this really large trauma, almost gripping, it's not the carpentero that pitoed you, ah. Wala yun. Kaya mo yun as an adult. You can go, che. It's your 6-year-old that forgot that there was this trauma and it's feeling it
Mm.
and the emotional memory surfaces, but you're still in denial. Your brain is still protecting you. We can't remember that. That's too. We're crossing the street in EDSA, so we cannot recall a childhood trauma right now. We have to cross the street. So your brain will conceal it from you, and you're just mainit ulo all day. Okay,
Mm.
but you need an explanation. So you might come up with something that's not real or imagined. And you know how vague memories are. There are some memories that never really happened, but they're still concrete in your head. Like, for example, I have this memory, or I thought it was my memory, that I saw my lola. My lola was, my mom was wearing a certain color of dress in my birthday. And my brother said, no, it wasn't red, it was blue. No, it wasn't blue, it was green. And apparently, you weren't there. I wasn't born yet. It was a picture. And it was in black and white. There is no color. So, ganun yung misteryo din ng memory eh. Parang, I really thought, I was very sure it was a blue dress and I was arguing to the death. And so was he. He was so sure it was green or red or whatever it was, I forget. Then yeah, it just hit me many years later. Neither of us were born yet. And it was a picture of mom, very beautiful in this dress. And that picture was black and white. There was no color. That's the same, with our traumas. Magbibigay siya ng hint, magbibigay siya ng hint. May maalala ka, may our favorite word, trigger.
Mm.
But That's why it's important to process sometimes, because if it's a deep, deep wound lodged, you might need surgery, anesthesia to get it out. And
Mm-hmm.
surgery, anesthesia is professional help. There's some traumas that you need not remember. It's just important that you know where it is so you can
Mm-hmm.
move forward.
Manage it.
What's my metaphor? What's my metaphor for that? Noynoy Aquino has a bullet lodged here. He was shot in 87 in a coup d'etat that's, in December. Gringo Onasan coup d'etat. So he has a bullet wound. He has a bullet here. And they decided not to take it out because it was resting on a nerve that might potentially paralyze him if they take it out. So minsan meron kang bala sa loob na mas dangerous pa
Literally.
kung tanggalin. So iwan mo na lang doon. Oo.
Mm.
So meron gano'n na, may traumas na gano'n, hindi mo kailangan ikalkal lahat. Minsan nga, napaka-dangerous pag kinalkal mo tapos wala kang kasamang doktor or wala kang
Mm.
gamot or walang anesthesia.
Mm-hmm.
So, careful rin kung ano yung i-recall mo. But your brain will always protect you. It will only recall things when you're
That you can
ready. Ang
handle.
nakakagulat lang naman yung trigger. Oo, ang nakakagulat lang naman yung triggers eh.
Mm-mm.
Yung out of nowhere,
Mm-mm.
may naamoy ka, ganyan, or yeah. So,
Yeah.
oh my
Okay.
God, so answer ko.
A question from Anne Kila Morales. How do you find the balance between overexpressing and ignoring the problem?
Mm. you know, that's a great question. Um, okay, when people, oh gosh, I'm gonna sound so judgmental here, but it's fine. I forgive myself. That's okay. When you have an overexpressing friend where they are unnecessarily needy, unnecessarily demanding, unreasonable, asking your time, they are addicted to the experience of someone responding to them. Now it's up to you if you're gonna go for that ride or not. This is where passive aggressive people come in, where emotional blackmail comes in. Like, I was, I was raped, and the other person will say, "Oh my gosh, really?" And then lagi na lang, then all of a sudden, lagi nagpapasundo. Hindi mo na siya ipapa-jeep pa uwi kasi nakonsensya ka na, baka, di ba, may trauma to. That's emotional blackmail, ah. You
uh,
didn't give birth to this person. So that's different. Over-expressing, wait over-expressing is an unnecessary seeking of soothing, and sometimes it's very parasitic. Baka maubos
mm,
yung isa. Kawawa
mm,
naman. Tsaka, over-expressing is also dangerous as taught to us by the fable of Boy Who Cried Wolf. Baka hindi ka natulungan pag talagang kailangan mo na
uh,
kung nag-over-express ka. Alam mo to, balance is always, honesty is always sana,
mm,
'di ba? And like any hand of cards, apat lang yung alas eh sa buong deck. So hindi pwedeng lahat alas
uh,
ibababa mo, right? So hindi over-express yun. Ignoring naman, mas default kasi natin yung ignore eh. Kasi parang, di mo tinitignan. Ignoring the problem is pretty much like saying, I don't know where I was stabbed. I'm not sure. I think I was stabbed, but I don't know where.
mm,
And it's just bleeding. So yeah, both will produce harm, because if you are over expressing, there will be a tendency, well, you will wear down people who love you and who care for you. You will wear them down, and that's part of what happens with when you cannot maintain long calm relationships.
mhm,
That's one of the characteristics of borderline eh. Either super intense, super fan, or enemy, or hindi walang boring, walang boring time. And alam naman natin, boring is the key. That's where all the changes happen. That's where all the work happens. So yeah, parang yung balance, siguro kung kailangan mo talaga mag-express sa taong aalagaan yung story mo, at ignore, I'll never advise ignoring. I do value the capacity to ignore a problem when the task has to be done, especially if there's a minor dependent on you. Like if there's a toddler dependent on you, you might really want to discuss your trauma later when you've fed your toddler. Parang pwede bang, 'di ba? May ganung situation. So very beautiful skill din yung ignoring.
mm,
Pero hindi pwedeng chronic ignoring. So, I think in Filipino it's called hanap ka ng lugar. Hanap ka ng
mm,
lugar.
oo,
I think yata yung term, lumugar ka.
mm,
Sa English, proper form,
yeah.
kind forum, a kinder forum. Sana may ganun lahat. I wish that for everyone, a friend that will listen and just nod.
Mm, mm-mm.
Yeah, that's really a gift.
Okay, a comment from Rodora Garcia Medina. Repression and nursing old wounds don't help us. What do you say about that?
That's true. May necessary length of time that you need to repress yata. There are
Mm,
some traumas and some wounds that heal in the dark. They're really that heal in the dark. So I guess this is the metaphor of you need to be stitched, and then
mm,
after a while, yung nakakapit, pwede nang tanggalin yung stitches kasi nakabit na yung skin. Parang ganun.
mm,
So may necessary length of time for repression, I think. Yung hindi mo. And by nursing old wounds, did you mean, Rodora, did you mean there's this old wound and then parang pinapalago mo pa? Parang inuulit. Oo, iba yun ah.
Inaalagaan.
Oo, parang inaaruga mo pa or ginagawa mo
Oo.
pang excuse for bad behavior. If that's
Mm,
what you mean, I completely agree with you. However, I do, based on studies, and this is numbers, it takes an average of 14 to 17 years for deep childhood sexual abuse to actually surface in real truth.
mm,
There's some unhealthiness and some slower healing, or it keeps the wound fresh if a child immediately comes out with it. I don't know. That's studies, that's numbers. There was a time in 2002 where Cardinal Shanley of the Boston School of Boys, like they all came out at their 25th reunion. Most of them were in their 40s, and they all said, "Ikaw rin, ikaw rin, ikaw rin," because
mm,
one person
mm,
came, "Tanga na tong pare na to, manyak eh." Tapos lahat, "Ikaw rin, ikaw rin, ikaw rin." So they all did the class suit, right, against this
mm,
priest. And that's 25 years later, okay? Um, because sometimes there's a wound exacerbated by lipunan, by society, by shame, by it's sodomy, so it's 10 times more shameful. It's different when it's a girl. No eh, may ganun eh. So ang tagal bago lumabas, and
mhm,
pag premature yung paglabas, either fresh pa rin siya or
mm,
magre-recur yung wound. This is really unlike a pimple. It's really a lot like a pimple pala. When you burst it at the wrong time.
yeah.
Compared to if you, yeah,
Mas masakit, no?
laki pa siya, lalo
Oo.
pa siya red, hindi mo pa matanggal yung nasa loob kasi minsan ang kailangan professional help na. Okay, pumunta ka na
Mm,
sa derma pa ko na yan. But sometimes, chachamba ka, eksakto yung pag-burst mo ng pimple na parang, wow, walang scar. Eksakto, nakuha mo siya at the appropriate time. And I wish everybody that impeccable timing when
mm,
you bring out traumas, and
yeah.
hopefully we have that. That's why it's good to be in the present kasi you know where your your
Kung
oxygen
kaya mo
level.
na. Oo.
Oo, otherwise hingi ka ng tulong. Kailangan ng anesthetics,
Mhm,
kailangan ng surgeon, kailangan ng nurse, kailangan ng team around you. Minsan gano'n, appendicitis, gano'n. Alam mong may appendicitis ka, so masakit every now and then, pero hindi pa siya pumuputok, you can live with it. Occasionally feel the pain, pero pag sumabog, di ba?
mm,
So, kailangan mo na mag-decide, okay, surgery na tayo, doc, bago pa 'to pumutok, right? And kailangan, like emotions, the same. Anesthetized to a certain extent. I think meds would assist you and anesthetize to recall a trauma. Yeah. But Boots and Lena, I am of the school of thought that I don't need to make clients remember absolutely the trauma.
mm,
Just as long as we have a general idea where the trauma happened and what
mm,
marks are left, we can proceed from there. Because there's
mhm,
some traumatic experiences that might just further damage you if we take it out. Pretty much like
mm,
the bullet lodged
mm,
on Pinoy's spine. Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes leave the bullet. It's okay. Let's just function
Mm,
as best we can. Bullet inside,
mm.
and inform every airport that you have a bullet so that when the X-ray goes
Oo.
wild, they know. It's the same.
Okay, how does
Okay. How
from
does art?
Diane Ginto, how does art therapy work? I think this is a whole lecture, ano? Um,
Wow.
it kasi depende kung ano yung sino yung kwan mo, no? Yung target
May 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 general may
principles.
general. answer to this? You wanna, okay lang ba? Yun na muna. But then we can, you
Mm,
can email
mm,
me and we'll figure it out. But generally, art therapy is you either get to express a feeling that was large and abstract, and the art therapist will challenge you to choose a color to express it, choose a ganyan, and then that transfers kasi the story from one side of the brain to the other eh.
mm.
And in that migration, um, logic somehow gets in and reason can come in kasi nilipat mo siya eh. So words, poetry, etc. That's kind of how it works. Because if you are in need of therapy, chances are there is a phantom trauma that's difficult to explain. Even you probably don't remember it. You're just seeing the effects. You're just limping, but you're not sure what hit you. Or you're limping emotionally, but you're not sure when you got fractured by whom. Right? Ganun naman ang childhood trauma eh. But, minsan may mga flinch tayo eh. May mga tao, kahit gaano kabait, pag kamukha niya yung yaya mo na mean, hindi mo siya gusto. Okay? May mga taong super bait, na alala ko na to, I know someone, ay kasi nga, hindi ko siya type. Hindi ko siya gusto. Pero super bait nitong taong to.
So
Oh my
bakit?
gosh, nung nakalkal ko na medyo kamukha niya yung cook namin when I was young who was mean to me, I just like completely let it go. I was just laughing and laughing. And then, in order to make it more comfortable between us, I have to say, we had this cook before. She didn't like me when I was a kid. And you kind of look like her. Kaya pala. And then when she laughed, that's the only
Okay
time my
na.
brain differentiated them. Pero pag may semblance of bad trip, kaya may certain faces na ayaw mo eh. Certain
Mm,
shape of faces. I mean, in bio studies, social ethnological studies, they said there's only 40 something shapes of faces in the entire world, and it's just
mhm.
there will really be one who will remind you of someone you don't like. So, um, that's not fair. I know it's almost as bad as racism, but no, it is as bad as racism. But I want you to really dig in. Ba't hindi mo type tong tao to? Kasi chemistry ba yun? Or etc.
Mm,
So
mm.
chances are this person reminds you of someone or something that's unpalatable to you. And the reason why I want us to kalkal and be a little kinder is because you could be that to someone. May parang wala akong ginagawa, ayaw niya ako. Alam mo yun? Wala akong ginagawa sa taong to, pero ayaw niya ako.
Mhm,
So, yeah, so humans are amazing. So how does art therapy work? It provides you a guided program wherein other phew, uh, issues or situations in your life that you need to process or want to process but too difficult to articulate, you
mm.
can express it this way and you analyze, you're seeing it with different sets of eyes.
Yeah.
And art therapy is it's more rigid than you imagined. Like there's really a program for it.
Mm.
Yeah. So yep,
Oh,
expression.
siguro in
Tell us.
relation to that question, I want to mention we had Kiri Delena as one of our speakers a few months ago, and
Oh, she's
we she actually has one of her films as part of Daang Docu, which ends
yeah,
tomorrow, yung Alunsina, and it's a portion of the documentary actually parang may art therapy na ginawa yung mga bata, the kids, children of victims of the drug war,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
so they had to parang process what they went through, and it was very moving, and also makikita mo very constructive din sa kanila kasi na pag-usapan
Yeah.
nila
Alam mo,
yung what they went through, no, so
Pag di-drawing mo na, pag
mm,
nai-drawing mo sa papel,
yeah,
nandun at it's in a controlled space.
mm,
'Pag hindi
mm,
mo na-express, hindi mo na kwento, hindi mo na drawing, naka-lodge siya sa isang part ng brain mo,
mm,
kung nasaan lahat ng emotion at memory. Minsan, hindi minsan, madalas, lumalaki talaga siya, like a
mm, mm,
phantom. When things are in your periphery and you're not quite looking at it,
mm.
parang it's just larger than it is. Objects, objects in the mirror are smaller than they appear.
Yeah,
Parang ganun yung gusto
parang
kong
sa ano
sabihin.
sa rear
So
view
ito,
mirror.
sa rear view mirror. So may halong trust din yun. Tsaka alam mo, may
Mm.
frame of mind din yung individual bago umabot sa I am willing to
Oo,
draw it.
yeah.
Tagal,
I'm sure there
matagal.
was a
Pero,
process, no, that
oo, hindi mo siya pwedeng
oo.
pilitin. Pero, kasi wala namang on-off switch yung puso. Wala.
Mm,
Talagang continuum siya, dimmer, volume button, hanapin mo. Kaya when somebody asks like, can I go to you as my therapist? I always say, I only accept 5 every quarter, and you have to commit to 1 quarter. Because this is like a gym.
mm,
You're not gonna
mm,
come to me one day and you leave like cartwheeling with joy. You never go to the gym once and you have abs. So if you want to go to a therapist, if you're thinking of going to a therapist, you're gonna have to commit at
mm,
least a quarter na regular, kahit once a week. Yung mga iba, yung mga talagang nasa ER of emotional pain, nasa ICU of emotional pain, I really advise thrice a week. Para ang
mm,
kailangan mo lang i-survive yung Tuesday, yung Thursday, yung Saturday. Kakausapin ko ulit si Gang sa Monday, sa Wednesday, sa Friday. Ganun na. I mean, just get yourself to Wednesday. Yeah, kasi
mm.
that's
That's a
all we
big
can
thing
do.
already. Oo, yeah.
Yes! And minsan, that's all we can do. You know?
Mm,
In fact, when you're very, very depressed, and we all have been, I I always say, sustain yourself half hour to half hour. Like half hour to
mm.
half hour. If you need to
Small
text someone,
doses,
sure, yeah, or
small
yeah.
steps.
Yeah, alam mo yung usual cliche of day at a time?
Mm.
Pag sobrang depressed ka, ang haba ng day,
Oo,
Talagang,
yeah, yeah, that's true.
whew, it's just tunneling out there. And if it's an 8-year-old side of you
Mm,
handling the debt that's millions, aabot ka talaga sa jump off the building. And I'm not
mm,
kidding. Even the most steady of us can get there. So what I really want to re-emphasize is that as a therapist, my only duty is to take you to the present day so that you're
mm,
not drowning in when you were 10, you're not drowning in the memory of the trauma last month, or drowning in imagined and anxious thoughts of 5 years from now. Kasi our brains are so efficient.
mhm,
We're such pattern seeking machines. We almost are very sure that, oh, 5 years from now I'm sure ABC. You know what my anxiety is about the pandemic? Because I travel to stay well. That's why nung nawala yung travel, parang natisod ako. Nawala yung isa kong go-to source, parang ganon,
oo,
of sanity. Um, I would say this all the time. I'm quite sure, with the clear handling of our present government of the virus, we might be one of the last few countries that will have no unilateral agreement with countries to be received as traveling. We might be one of the,
mm.
like everybody else can travel na
Can
except
travel except
us,
us.
us ABCD, Bangladesh or whoever it is. But I'm quite sure we're going to be one of the last waves that will be allowed to enter other
Mm,
countries, and that made me depressed. But then, where did I come up with that? Am I sure that that's going to happen? No. Where did I get that? I just pattern sought. I just looked for a pattern and I found it based on the global ranking of our passport. Okay. So, am I sure? No. But am I already feeling the anxiety? Yes. Is the pain already real? Yes. Am I
yes.
angry na at DFA? Yes. But am I sure? No. I just sought that pattern and I assumed it. Right? So, can you imagine how many times we do that? And can you imagine whoever asked about meditation? Can you imagine the value of the 2 minutes that you're in present moment? That you're not 10 years from now and you're not 10 years ago? Ang laki na nun, ah. So, one advice, really, really practical advice, choose a track you really like. Music. If it's 4 minutes and 10 seconds, stay there. Stay in the song. Listen to it lang. Kahit close your
Mm,
eyes kung gusto mo, or stare at a painting if you want. But finish the 4 minutes and 11 seconds until the last tone, and then stay there.
mm,
That's meditation enough. It doesn't have to be staring at a wall. Those are formal meditative styles, and if that works for you, ang swerte mo. Nang swerte mo. That's good. That's good. Ako kasi I need help, eh. I need help with
meditating?
meditation. Yeah.
Nakakatulog ako sa
Visual.
meditation, eh.
which is good. That's very good though.
Actually,
My mom,
uh,
I used, I
I
used to
guess.
tell
No?
my sleep. That means nag-respond yung brain mo sa anong kailangan ng body mo. Natulog ka.
Mm,
Kasi iba after mag-meditate, kailangan uminom na uhaw. Or
okay.
kailangan magbanyo. Or kailangan magbanyo after yoga, whatever.
Mm-mm.
That means you are so
Nag-respond.
attuned that
Mm-mm.
you're listening to your body. At kung nakatulog ka, Boots, yun yung kailangan ng body mo.
Kasi
Yun yung
insomniac ako eh.
genius ng
O sige,
yun yung
magme-meditate
genius
na
ng
talaga ako.
meditation.
Okay,
Yung genius actually, yung genius ng present moment is
oo.
it's silent enough that you can listen to your body. And then
Mm,
it says you are thirsty, you are dehydrated, you're not getting
mm,
enough oxygen, you're tired, you're sleepy. Yun. Hindi natin naririnig yun eh when we're
or
too
ayaw
much.
natin makinig, no?
Oh, daming static. But it's
Oo.
fine.
From Babette Lalarga again, are you open to another workshop on creative journaling online? Is that something that we can do? Um,
You know, there are,
merong mga, oo. Yeah,
I know
maybe you can,
someone,
ano,
I know someone who is way better than me
mm.
on that subject, creative
Sige, sige.
journaling.
We
But
can,
sure, I can.
yeah.
But I'll
And
recommend
then
her.
on what's a good mental exercise to take you out of the pits, the dark night of the soul? How could Bourdain have managed his severe depression?
Ako present moment and really
Oh.
sorry parang cliche ito at parang religious pero actually hindi ako religious. Gratitude. No, when you get yourself to the zone of gratitude, ang layo niya sa grief. Kasi I wrote this once and I think gratitude is the furthest province from grief. If Bourdain took that night in France just saying, look at me, I'm in rural France. You know, I grew up in
Mhm.
Hell's Kitchen in Brooklyn, and I made it. I made it this far, and look at me. France can actually bore me now. And if he took joy in that, and if he took delight in that gratitude moment, I think he would have he would have made it to the morning. And
Yeah.
when the morning happens, that's why get yourself to the next, to the next hour, to the next hour, to the
Mm-mm.
and sunlight. Seriously, I mean, Babette, I can't stress this enough, and I would love a whole other episode. Sorry, a whole other webinar on this. Just let's just discuss light. Let's just discuss how sunlight happens and why. Let's do the science of it, the belief of it, the effect of
Mhm.
it, and the physical of it. But yung severe depression talagang kailangan mong pilitin sarili mong tumingin sa sunshine. Kahit
Mm.
asar na asar ka. Ano number one ng depressed? Naaasar ka pag nagra-rise na yung sun. Kasi chances are insomnia ka, tapos parang di na naman ako
Oo.
makakatulog kasi maliwanag na, tapos naiinis ka sa sun. Oo, ganun. Yun, indication yun. Indikasyon yun. Lalo na kung 90
Oh,
days na. So, yeah.
okay.
How have Bourdain manage? Oh, ako gratitude na lang. Kahit dun muna tayo mag-start. Parang maramay, ayos na, pumayat ako. Or kahit ano, kahit ano. Um, or, well, poetically, I would say, if he brought himself to the present minute, I don't think he would have ended
That way.
things,
Mm-mm.
if
Mm-mm.
he saw what else is potentially, what other potential great an Anthony Bourdain of that fame and that coolness, street cred
I
factor
know.
contribute to forming the next generation. If he knew,
Mm.
if he just
Mm-mm.
knew how what other quotes he can have for our next generation to actually realize that not supporting dictators is cool. I mean, he would have stayed alive. I have a feeling, but he forgot. He may have
Oo.
forgotten things. He wasn't in the present minute.
Mm-mm.
Uh,
Mm-mm.
because I think if he was truly in the present minute, he know that he's the shit and he should keep on living as long as he can. That's something I think Sean Connery knew. So he made it to 90, di ba?
Yeah.
Kasi he was for Scotland. He was really the voice of Scotland. He had Scotland forever was his tag. And the struggle of his country versus UK versus
Mm-mm.
England was just something he bore for every Scot person, right? And he knew that. That it and I think Sean Connery knew that, and you should know that.
Mm.
Like you also bear heart the heartbeat of certain people. You actually bear them in your hands. So stay alive, di ba? At least kahit for them na lang.
Oo.
Yun.
Sige.
So,
So, that would be, okay, someone comment, well, our friend Debbie said that I should try bullet journaling. Yes, she's an advocate of bullet journaling. I actually tried to start, but just forgot about it. Comment again from Lena. Mike Kelly, grabe. Um, I'll go to next Lena's comment. Can I recommend a podcast, The Lonely Palette? Talks about
oh,
artwork, the artist, the milieu, and impressions of people randomly interviewed about the work.
I do listen to
Mm-mm.
Lonely.
You do.
Yeah,
There's
but
one
yeah, go
there's
ahead.
one question here from. Sorry, we should be ending soon, no? I can't read
Uh,
everything, so maybe wait. I just want to say from Taz Albano that this webinar is absolutely helpful and insightful. I'm a faculty of the Department of Philosophy, researching on themes in philosophy of art. I was wondering if music and scent can trigger a memory that leads to trauma. Do you think that art can heal such trauma in a way that it triggers happy memories or perhaps lead us to imagine hopeful possibilities?
Absolutely. In fact, it was a mistake for you to bring up scent with me. No, because
Yes, of
I
course.
I can talk about scent for 24 hours. Um, Scent, absolutely. Please remember, your nose is kapitbahay of your limbic system where everything is.
Mhm.
When you sniff something, walang stopover, it's directly there. So yes, absolutely, scent. Some people say that you want to trigger happy memories, and so ABCD. Um, I'm all for that. By the way, if lemon makes you happy, sure, please sniff that. But I think, how do I say this? I'm not. I'm a nightmarer. Like I really have bad dreams. Okay. Um, and I am
Akala
the
ko ikaw
child
yung
that.
nagbibigay ng
No, no, no.
nightmare.
Well, even
Okay.
then, for some, yeah, about two or three. But I am the kid that moves beds. I move to my mom's bed, my brother's bed. I'm the one that wakes up and then I move. I'm that kid. And I used to think it was because I was unloved or whatever. Actually, no. Actually, I was loved. I'm the youngest of 10. The reason why I appreciate it is because I have a feeling it's my brain simulating a trauma or a potential fear so that when it happens, I'm kind of ready. Second, it's the type of pessimism that makes you buy health insurance. You know what I mean? There is a side of you that's pessimistic. That's why you will bring an extra payong. That's why you will bring an disposable panty. That's why I'm a disaster preparedness person, even from when I was a child. So I'm the one that feared my mom's death from the time I knew what death was. So, but I realize now. Sorry, Taza, I'm circuitously answering your question. When I have a nightmare now, my mother has Alzheimer's, okay, and I miss her terribly. My recurring theme is I'm always looking for her in my dream, wherever we're in the Baguio Palenque, Makati Supermart, or whatever, 70s places. And then I will have a moment of wonder na, oh, I have a phone. I can text her in my dream. Ah. And then when I look at my phone, wala siya sa phone book. Okay, this is my recurring dream because my mother has Alzheimer's. I said, why am I dreaming this dream? And I realized I'm not even magical or psychic or whatever. I'm just saying because generally the whole part of the day I really miss my mom and I don't think it because I'm in denial and I'm escaping from it, but my brain will fire it at night para it's demanding to be felt. And then this is the best part, when I wake up, whew, it's just a dream. Okay, so pag nagna-nightmare ka pala, ang ganda ng gising mo kasi yay, dream lang. As
Mm.
opposed to triggering happy memories, great dream, I'm making out with Keanu Reeves in my prom, and I wake up, I'm like, damn! Gusto ko bumalik sa tulog para matuloy ko yung dream. So, meaning, it's okay to be triggered by sad times. In fact, when you are triggered by sad times, you have a chance to say, that's no longer now.
Mhm.
No longer now. Whew, buti na lang. Right? You have a chance. But what's the other option? You stay in 1976. So come back, come back, come back. That's why
Mm-mm.
I'm a fan of journaling because it takes you to the day. Um, I have this nasty habit. It's extreme. It's like it's almost obsessive. Every post I have, I put a date and time. Okay, I don't. I got that from disaster response, so that when I post, we need use tarps for an evacuation center. They know what time I posted it, and if it's like 3 days ago, don't na deliver kasi tapos na to malamang, right? So it's been my habit to put 2 p.m. for November 2020 para they know when I posted it, right?
Mm-mm.
And then I realized I hold on to that to remind me that it's 2020, to remind me that I'm not 16. You know, when there are people of the same gender as you and they intimidate the shit out of you. Like, I'm so afraid of intimidate. Some women just love intimidating other women. I don't know what that trip is, but there are. I really need to remind myself I am not 16. Okay. I'm not 16. In
Mhm.
fact, I am a 40 something woman and kaya ko to i-machine gun actually with my brain. And kaya ko rin siya i-ignore. Yay. But if you stay in your 7th grade state of mind who's out of place and wanting to always be liked,
Mm.
really gonna have a problem as a 40-year-old. Because you know by now that not everyone will like you. You know? Because if you stay in that first year high school na I want everyone to like me, admire me, hala, 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 mapapagod ka. The day you can say, "Aw, they don't like me." It's okay. No, no, it's not okay.
Mm.
Aw, carry on. The day you
Yeah.
can say that without your heart rate racing, welcome. You grew up,
Mm.
And the day you can actually say, "Oh, hindi niya ako type eh." Di ba? When you can say that calmly, oh, crush na crush ko yun dati pero hindi niya ako type eh. Nawala ng pain.
Okay
Ay,
lang,
nako,
oo.
welcome, you grew up.
I'm
Yay! Yeah,
actually
yeah, kasi
reminded of ano,
of,
what's that movie, yung animation, Disney animation, Pixar animation about
oh,
emotions? Yung si
yeah.
Joy, 'di ba? I think that that's also very
Oh,
similar to
yeah.
what
What was that movie? The one
you're
with
talking about.
Joy and
Oo.
Depression and
Oo,
etc.
oo. Kasi parang si Sadness, 'di ba,
Yeah.
na ma-marginalize pero importante pala siya dun sa
Oo.
ano. So I just recalled that that part of the movie. Ano nga bang title nun? I forgot
Oo nga,
na.
nakalimutan ko rin. Pero ang nakikita ko yung itsura ng blue girl with blue hair and vampy
Yes,
eyes.
oo.
Yung tanong
Inside
ni
Out. Okay, Inside
oh,
Out. May nag-ano. Thank you,
yung
thank you.
yung tanong ni Philosophy of Art, kasi syempre
Mm.
philo major, ano, ah, what's the word? Mahalaga rin na you do things on purpose. Yung ikaw ang may control kung magti-trigger ka ng happy memory or not, or sad memory or not. Mahal mahalaga rin na kaya may hawak ka rin sa manibela na yon.
Mm.
Nakakaasar yung nagugulat ka, gano'n.
Mm.
Halimbawa ako, nalulungkot ako 'pag nakakaamoy ako ng floor wax. Alam mo yung floor wax na luma na red, yung may malaking gano'n? Kasi may memory ako na late ako sinundo ng kuya ko ta's naka-floor wax na yung manong di pa ako sinusundo. So, one time naamoy ko yung floor wax, hindi ko ma-imagine, hindi ko arok ba yung word? Hindi ko
Mm.
ma-explain. Ang melancholy ko that day. Nandun ako sa ano, sa must have been in Padre Fara, Department of Justice. It was the smell of an old building.
Mm.
Tapos parang, akala ko melancholy ako kasi parang yung state of the judiciary. Parang hindi pala.
It's the
It's the
floor wax.
floor wax. And when I pieced it together, natawa talaga ako na-piece ko together kasi nafi-feel ko na yung melancholy ko, yung ang lapit ka. Please remember when you smell something, it's diretso sa limbic system, memory agad yan, emotion na. Nung nafi-feel ko na yung lungkot ko, lalabas ako sa Department of Justice sa may Supreme Court. Lalabas ako sa kalye, yosi ako, tapos parang may existential dread ako na kala ko it's the justice system. Kaya asa ko nga pangalan justice, 'di ba? So may obsession ako diyan. Tapos naalala ko lang, ay putres, ito pala yung amoy ng ito pala yung amoy ng Saint Teresa's nung hindi ako sinundo nung kindergarten and then I could deal with the smell without it without my knowledge. It was unwittingly making it was largely making me sad against my
Mm.
will.
Mm.
Ah, so if you're aware, this is why mahalaga rin magkalkal ng childhood. Para alam mo when the trigger happens, hindi yan existential dread, Naalala mo lang yung amoy ng clinic nung na-fracture yung elbow mo. Minsan amoy ng
Mm.
ospital. Classic.
Mhm.
Amoy ng ospital. Guys, I don't know if you even know what I'm talking about, but I have a feeling you'll be nodding where you are. May specific amoy ang taxi ng 80s. Yung fake leather,
Tsaka
yosi
pine.
ng driver, ay, of
Yung
course, going
pine.
steady. Oh, yung pine tree, correct. Na tinatry i-hide yung yosi ni driver, kaya pati yung natatawa rin ako, eh. Pati yung yarn na nakapatong sa dashboard ay nakuha na yung amoy nung lemon lime pine tree na pinatong-patong na niya, right? So 'pag alam mo kahit bulag ako 'pag nasa taxi ako at 1984 ngayon, parang
Mm.
alam mo kaagad, 'di ba? There's a specific smell. But stay there. That can be your meditation too, Stay there.
Parang hindi ako
Stay there.
makaka-meditate dun.
Hindi. So, alam oo nga, eh. Alam mo, before I let you go, I know we're over time. Sorry, we're 10 minutes over time. The reason why you always read this bullshit of sorry for the bad word. I apologize for the bad words. You're older people now. They're just adverbs, okay? They I always read ever since I got into essential oils. I feel more in control. I mean, I feel empowered. Okay, they use that word, and I'm always thinking, what is this OA reaction? Why empowered? Why I don't get it. But eventually I got it. Can I explain?
Okay, last
You
5 minutes.
you never you never control scent. If a
Mm.
basura truck passes by,
Mm.
if maybe yung katabi mo, sorry, you're smelling it. Walang nose lids, eh. But when things are bottled and you can open it and say, I would like
Mm.
to smell mint. I would like to smell, what does Melia Lucas smell like? What does tea tree smell like? What, this is frankincense. Oh, this is lavender. Grabe yung signal na send sa brain mo na may control
Mm.
ka.
Mm.
Kasi wala tayong control sa smell, eh.
Mm.
So, okay pala yun, yun pala yun. Kaya pala, it's
Hmm.
a billion-dollar industry, these scented
Okey.
candles, these
Oo.
incense, this, I get
Perfume.
it now. I get it. I get it. Because you can choose what the scent of your sabon is. If you
Mm.
like cucumber melon, which I don't like, by the way, apple, you can choose. You can choose. And you know that when you shampoo with it, that's the smell when you sweat. So, there is wisdom somehow in being more deliberate about things. You be more deliberate. You cannot be flotsam all the time. Please, we're not toddlers anymore. You can hold the manibela every now
Mm.
and then, even of your traumas. You can. Kung kailangan mo ng kasama, magpasama ka. Kung kaya mo mag-isa at nararamdaman mo hindi pala hindi. Parang haunted house lang yan, eh. Kaya mo yata pumasok mag-isa or kailangan mo ng kasama. Ganun lang yan. Pero
Mm.
paglabas mo doon, okay pa pala ako, bahay lang pala siya, 'di ba? But you know that. You pay to ride a roller coaster. My goodness, you pay 200 pesos to get nauseated. What? I
Yeah.
don't get it. You pay to watch a movie that will scare the shit out of you. You know why? Because you need to feel things, and it just makes sense to feel it in a controlled screen environment. The reason why forensic files, CSI, criminal whatever, law and order, the reason why these things, they're billion-dollar industry, is because there is great comfort when you are watching it from your couch and you
Mm.
are safe, and there are people being murdered somehow times 10 yung gratitude mo. This is why it works. That formula works, yung parang, ay, grabe, ang daming minurder sa Ohio. Well, I'm in Taguig. So, yay, I'm safe. Kahit hindi ganun yung proseso ng thinking mo, may signal na nasa-send na I'm safe. I'm safe. Kasi
Mm.
controlled yung environment. This is also why sometimes you like to watch nakakaiyak TV shows, whatever. Kasi you need to let it
Kasi
out.
mas
And it's just greater to let it out in a controlled environment. And my last
mm.
advice, it's wonderful to sing out loud really Baduy songs.
Yun.
Sing out loud, very Baduy songs na talagang hinagpis heartbreak. When you sing it
Mm.
out loud, it's just done. Matatawa ka kasi eventually, eh. At saka mas masarap kumanta ng heartbreak Carpenter song kung hindi ka talaga broken.
Broken hearted.
Kung hindi ka talaga heartbroken, 'di ba? Pero kung heartbroken ka, either tatago ka sa disco or sa you'll deny it. Or you choose to wallow in it. So, I think
Mm,
that closing is summary is just like, stay in the minute. Stay where you are and also
yeah.
recognize there are seasons. There will be a season. And yay, walang
Mhm.
forever.
Yes, walang
That's
forever.
it.
Matatapos din tayo sa
Oh, and you have
pandemic na 'to.
10
Oo.
You have five senses. Please use them. Make them
Mm.
help you. Choose the color you wear. Choose the
Kaya kahit
sweat.
nasa bahay lang tayo 'no, 'di ba?
Oo naman.
What
Nakamaong nga ako
more?
eh. Saka sapatos.
Okay.
Parang,
Para
oo,
dito, oo. Dapat lang,
para
oo.
dito. Kasi ang lakas makapagpa-alert ng sapatos tsaka
Yeah.
maong. Eh. Parang gising na kagad yung brain ko. Nagmaong lang ako.
So thank you, Gan. Thank you for this very engaging, insightful session. A lot of thanks actually dito sa comments if you read them. So and thank you to everyone who attended and also asked questions, sent their comments. Sorry kung hindi ko na nabasa yung ilan, but
Ganda ng tanong ni Jacob, sayang. Yung
sorry.
emphasis and
Okay. Oo,
glorification of pain.
sige, we can end with this one. Do you think that our culture's emphasis and glorification of pain
I think
contributes to how people create and experience art? Yeah.
not just how people create and experience art, but also how we live. And
Mm.
I won't blame culture for it. I'll blame religion for sure. There's such an emphasis in he
Yung
died on the cross for you.
martyr complex, no?
Yeah. As if an easy and enjoyable task was not equal to a difficult task.
Mm.
When
Mm-mm.
you offered it, you offered it. Whether it was easy for you or hard, an
It's
offering
still
is
an
an
offering. Huh?
yeah. But somehow we did put a premium on suffering. There really is naman some reward, especially in the metaphor of sports, in
Mm.
the Olympics. Certainly the gain came from pain, etc., and all that
Mm-mm.
cliche. But I really also would like to balance the scale into the glorifying of offering work that you love and
Mm-mm.
offering work
Yeah.
that you enjoy. So I really like that question, Jacob. Thank you for asking that because I wanted to I wanted to when I first came home from I studied elsewhere and then I came home and I thought I shall save the Philippines. Who didn't think of that, right? Parang wow, no, I didn't. I failed on that goal, but it's fine. I'm working on it. I said, I will volunteer. I will go to cribs. Okay. So I carried babies. Okay. And I'm the
Mm.
youngest of 10. I don't like babies. I mean, I'm not used to babies, but I got so depressed. Like, so many orphans in Marikina. And I was just so sad and I was just so paralyzed. And I thought, shucks, hindi ako magiging development work. Kasi hindi kaya ng heart ko. I really
Ah.
got depressed. And then my friend suggested, really insensitive friend, said, why did you go to East Avenue? There's kite. Ang cancer kids naman. Then lalong na to, 2 linggo ako hindi makabangon. I was so sad. Like, pauwi ako sa jeep. Like, pabalik ako ng Jesco. Man, lungkot-lungkot ko. So, I started an NGO that celebrated music, film, art, photography, because that's my joy. And I don't think it makes it any less of an offering
Mm.
to the progress of a country just because. So, and I realize it's also very humbling to realize that hinagpis is not my gift. It's also very humbling to realize that taking care of orphans is not my gift. But I also realize it doesn't make promoting OPM less of an offering. Kasi then I realized, galing to sa Catholic Church kasi kailangan may dugo eh, bago
Mm.
maging meaningful. Parang hindi pala. Pwede
Oo.
kang maging joyful and light-hearted and enjoy. In fact, that's when changes happen kasi kaya mong ulit-ulitin at dun ka gagaling. Di ba? Hindi ka naman
Mm.
magiging Michael Jordan kung ayaw mo ng basketball. Wala naman ang luma ng example ko, sorry ah. Wala naman pinanganak na Michael Jordan except si Michael Jordan. Pero lahat yun, ensayo yun. At paano, mag-e-ensayo ka ba ng paulit-ulit kung hindi mo trip?
Hindi mo
Hindi.
gusto. Mm.
Kailangan gusto mo.
Mm.
So, the glorification of pain, maybe let's change the word to appreciation of occasional seasonal pain.
Oo.
And then glorify the reward and the gain that comes
Mm.
from that pain. I think
Mm.
let's just stay there for now.
Yep.
Let's specify. Let's specify. Okay. So that's it.
Okay. So thank you. that's a good ending on a positive note, no? So yeah, maybe we can talk about a future, another session that I think even without the lockdown, we need to take care of ourselves, no? Our mental wellness. Uh, Siguro whatever is we're about to face, whatever is the new or better normal,
Yeah, no.
hopefully, yeah, we have the proper handles to face them, to face
Ako kahit every now and
whatever
then na lang.
conditions.
Every now and then sana hawak mo yung manobela, every now and then.
Yeah.
Ni sana every now and then. O sana may katabi kang hahawak pag
Mm-mm.
pag
Um,
may kailangan ka
I,
hanapin sa likod.
Gan, baka you want to take this opportunity to parang I know you're raising funds for the
Oh,
relief.
yeah,
Might
pwede
want to
fine.
say something about that, if in case we get some immediate
Yeah,
responses from the listeners. So
when the Ateneo Art Gallery offered a small honorarium for this afternoon, not small, reasonable honorarium for this afternoon, I immediately can you deposit it kasi we need to deliver PPEs to evacuation centers, by
mhm.
the way, because they're all cramped, walang social distancing, so they really need more PPEs there. Then I realized, and also if I mess this up, then at least they got to donate to they got to donate to at least may magandang nangyari or
Oo.
etc. I
But
hope everybody like got to thinking, of things you wouldn't normally think of today, or at least I hope we got to let you stay from 2 to 4 on November 4th, 2020 in one space. And for
mm,
me, that's meditation enough. That's
yep.
oxygen enough.
Mm-mm.
Please manage your oxygen.
Yep. Okay. So thank you everyone, especially those who attended the watched through Facebook Live. So thank you, gang. And our next session, ArtSpeak Online, is on November 18 with Vic Balanon, to be followed by a panel of artists who are all based in the Cordillera region. um, Part of their discussion is actually about a recent mural that they completed. It's actually a mural of Santi Bose, which they updated, and this project was
Oh,
completed
yeah.
soon, right before the pandemic,
Yeah, I
a
saw.
week before the pandemic. And then another panel, teaching art in the pandemic, with artists based in the Visayas. It's on December 9. So we
Okay.
hope you will join us. So thank you
I'll
and
end
good
the
afternoon.
I'll end the thank you
Yes,
while you guys exit. I'm going to share the just the track this time. I cannot share na pala. It's okay.
pwede pa, pwede.
I was gonna share the track kanina so that you can
Ano
end
ba
with
yon?
that.
Anong title? Kasi samba music, di ba?
And hindi naman okay siya, okay siya. Ano siya actually pangalan to pang ecstasy yata to eh. Hindi ko
Ayan,
alam.
ayan. Oh, ayan.
No, or the days of summer. And then I wanted to share and end with a picture of the room para lang you can see it with different eyes now, I think. Okay. Thank you everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
Ateneo Art Gallery.
Thank you, gang. See each other again soon.
Okay. Okay there. Salamat.
Salamat din.